Adamlar stabil ilerliyor.
Fenerbahçe Espor. C bence. Bizce.
Bende İda var. İda'yı da ben direkt S'e koyuyorum. Bende Asgard var. Asgard'ı C'de yer kalmadığı için A'ya koyuyorum.
I have S2G, my favorite team.
Yeah.
S2G. Bence A.
Evet. Ama uyum yakalayacaklarını düşünüyorum yönetimden. Beşiktaş Getso. Ne TMB seviyesi,
Evet,
ne bu seviye yani.
Anortosis. Kanka Beşiktaş'ın yanına konulur
Aynen.
ortaya bence.
Onu oraya koyalım. XS eSpor. Tam olarak BTL'e koyuyorum.
Aynen. Jetco kaldı. Nedense yine Beşiktaş Getso ile Anortosis ortasına aynı yere.
Tam buraya yapıştır bence.
Aynen. Takım içi uyumu iyi. Ama bu takımların yanında da şey olduğunu düşünüyorum.
Bana TMB e-spor geldi. B'ye koyacağım. Yani
Koy.
mantıklı B gibi.
Biraz sürpriz bir takım onlardan. Bra Espor bence ilk beşine zorlayacak bir takım.
Hidayet e-spor geldi bana da.
Şuraya yapıştır işte, tam ortaya yapıştır. Aynen. En sona S2G kaldı. A değil mi? Bence de A'ya koyalım.
You don't feel the same. Wondering when it changed. Did you come to play, my baby?
Hello and welcome back to the PMSL Europe. My name is John Allen. With me is Blank. We had twists and turns yesterday. We set it all up at the start of the day. Everything was going according to plan. And then the bottom of the tables decided to kick into second gear. We're going to be heading into today's games and hopefully bringing you all the action as well. It is going to be thrilling, I'm sure. And at the end of today, we're going to set that Smash rule boundary. So everything's still to play for.
Yeah, it's going very, very quickly, actually, all things considered. I was very, very surprised by how fast things are going. But going into today should be good. We had, like you said, a lot of upsets yesterday, a lot of interesting teams that weren't doing particularly well, suddenly having some good games. S2G turning it on right at the end of the day. Like I said, I think that was a big morale boost for them. Saw them all hugging and cheering, which is necessary, especially when you've had such a terrible groups and knockout stage. I think a little bit of that from the home crowd can do you absolute wonders. But today, like you say, we will be figuring out where that Smash zone will be. Right now, Ulf looks like they're the closest to be setting it in the future. But with so many different teams stepping up from so many different portions of the tables, kind of hard to predict.
Yeah, absolutely. You imagine that in general, you expect a first place team to be around a 10-point average, which would put you at 120 points at the end of the day. So the expected boundary that I'm thinking about is around that 130 mark. And with Rondo, that could go a lot higher. Obviously, Ulf right now on 65. If you double that, that would be 130, and then the boundary would be 140. But it's that sort of number that we're looking at the start of tomorrow. But we'll have to wait and see, because today's games still need to be played. Of course, there is, as you say, Ulf way out in the lead, but Regnum Kaya fairly consistent yesterday, able to get a couple of really strangely effective rotations in a couple of those circles, and managing to thread the needle a couple of times. Very strangely interesting stuff. Yeah, well, several times I saw them send through the middle of a few things.
Yeah, there was actually some pretty cool moments from Regnum Kaya in terms of their rotations. Like you say, like honestly, getting some of those rotations not easy, but that takes practice. It takes discipline. It takes reading the circle well.
Takes silence.
Information gathering. It does take silence. Yeah, I will boil it all down to, silence, cool. But yes, I think that it's definitely some cool rotates coming through from Regnum Kaya. It felt like, I don't want to say sandbagging in the groups and knockout stages, but this is a very different Regnum Kaya to what we saw over yesterday's matches.
It has been a lot more performant, obviously, and we were looking at consistency over those group stages and sort of wondering about a couple of teams. They have found that first day nice and strong. A first place, 2 second places, a third place as well. Nice record to have, and that second place is well deserved. A team that, when we talk about consistency coming into this one, it was Papara Supermassive, right? Who were sort of the kings of consistency when it came to their performance both in the league and knockout stages. They did have that massive blast out day back in the league stage to top the tables there, but yesterday not as effective.
Still some good games though. I think overall when you watch Papara Supermassive, some of their rotates, their positioning, it didn't look terrible. It really did not look terrible. Caro with a big fan base here, and the one that's eclipsing over on S2G side. So you got both sides of the arena. Do you feel sort of bad for the people underneath the flag right now, Joe?
They're just trying to call their mum. They're just having a good time with the audience. They're like, oh, they've covered me up. That's a terrible view. I'm sure it's all in good fun. Maybe they cleared out that area. You could see not all the fans in just yet, although the seats are very, very full now. And of course, with the weekend kicking off, more people are going to be able to get there nice and early for things to begin. And there we go. Finally, they're uncovered. He is actually on the phone. Look at him. He is actually on the phone, and they've just been shaking a flag over his head. What's that about?
Yeah, he had things to do, right? He had things to get up to. Got to call in the troopers. We need more support here for S2G. I also think that were they like punching the flag there from underneath? Is that how they make that billowing effect?
No, they're just all shaking it like you did in primary school with that big parachute. That was great fun.
I don't think anyone remembers that.
That's a UK core.
That's a UK core memory right there. Yeah, we used to have like the done thing in the UK in primary school was some guy brought in a big parachute. I guess it was a big parachute. It was like massive.
Like a big circle of rainbow cloth, right? And you'd all just like shake it, and then you'd all throw it up in the air, and then all climb underneath it, and it'd be like a big tent, and you'd all have a great time. That would be one of our PE lessons. Goodness me.
That's not what we did. So what we did, we played sharks. Did you ever play sharks?
Oh, yeah, where one person's underneath. Yeah.
Yeah, and they just drag you under. You get flung, and now you're a shark. Who do you get next? I don't really know what the goal of that game was, because eventually everyone just gets dragged under.
Violence, I think.
You're just waiting to see who gets dragged under next. Which is what we're doing here. We're waiting to see who's going to get dragged under in the leaderboards overall. Look at our tournament format and how things have panned out over the past 3 weeks. It's been a little bit of time, right? But we've had the group stages. We dropped a few teams from there. Then went to knockout stages. Slightly less matches, only 5, so it's a bit of a quicker Jobber went down to 20 teams and now down to 16. So every week we dropped 4 teams, and now we're here in the finals, battling out to see who will be taking home that 35 grand.
Absolutely. It is a nice prize, but the bigger prize that sits behind it is, of course, that PMGC gauntlet spot that everybody is salivating at the prospect of. It is much more favorable to going into the gauntlet than it is to the group stages. So even if you're winning your regional point table, which several teams have the opportunity to, you do want to be getting top 3 here. And if you want to get in the top spot, one of the ways you can do that is with the smash rule. After today, we will be setting our score boundary. So say that it's 120 points for whoever's in first place. Add 10 to that, it would sit at 130. That would be our smash score target. If a team hits the target and after hitting that target, get a chicken dinner, they win. No other extra rules. Doesn't matter if there's anyone with more points than you. If you've hit that target and then you get a chicken dinner after you've hit that target, you win the whole shebang and a gauntlet spot.
And here is our calendar for today. Obviously, yesterday it's exactly the same. We're not changing anything here, keeping things very consistent throughout the entirety of the finals. But we will be starting off on Rondo into 3 Erangels and then capping off the day over on Miramar. And finally, one more, Miramar. Yeah, I think Miramar was a nice one to finish on yesterday because it's a bit of a weird one where I think that Erangel is nice, does require a lot of strong rotations, but more than ever, I think Miramar, it's a tough map to end on, right? Because it's massive rotations you to make, interesting little movements you have to go for as things are panning out on such a huge map, especially because we keep having these really southern playing paths, which are tough to work with. Here are our qualified teams for the grand finals, and every single one of them, I would say, have done something here and there. Maybe not IWNRX. I think that's the only one I'd probably count out.
I mean, they had a little bit of a glimmer of hope during the league stages. They were up into 3rd place there, but they really fell from grace during the knockout stages. And yesterday, that story continued, right? 16th place, 19 points. It needs a big revitalization. But I think, yeah, you're right. Everybody else has had those little moments. Xley, even with that final afterburn in the league stages to just about make it out into the knockout stages, and now here into the finals as well. I would maybe put Anathosis Famagusta in the same category as IWNRX, potentially, as a team that hasn't really done anything loud. But during the knockout stages, I suppose they had their moments.
Yeah, I think during the knockout stages, Anathosis, Famagusta are pretty good. Again, I do think that they're struggling a little bit from what IWNRX struggled with last season, where they have one very strong player in default, and then the rest of the team is trying to kind of build around that momentum. I think that's what's tough about it. It's still, they're an aggressive team. I don't think mechanically they're terrible. I think that's the good thing about Anathosis Famagusta. Yes, you have this one really big star player, but overall, I do think that for the boys on Anathosis, still doing fairly well.
I mean, they're certainly putting up a strong performance, and I think a performance in a place where perhaps teams maybe a little bit less expected than they would. Obviously, Default having a big impact there. Ragnazada as well was doing a couple of tricky maneuvers yesterday. So we'll hopefully look out for more of that, please, today. Coming into it, they do have a little bit of a way to climb, though, because in 13th place, they are fairly close to the bottom of those tables, right? Although it is fairly smooth on the points curve, right? For 28 points in 13th place, you give them 10 more points, they're tied in 4th place with the Falcons, right? So it is very much still a volatile game. It's still a lot to play for, and we still have the majority of our matches left to cover. And if you're going to earn a lot of points, the place to do it is on our first match in Rondo.
We got a lot of points coming through yesterday on Rondo. And I think that it was a lot of points, but it was spread across many different teams. We didn't have like a banger of a performance from any one singular team coming through on Rondo. It was Erangel actually where we saw the majority of our points coming out from for Ulf with 27 points total, with 17 eliminations on that match, which was fairly impressive, to be honest with you, John. Hoping to see more of that today. I think you made a good point yesterday where you were saying that, look, for Ulf, maybe it hasn't been the greatest day in the world, but I do think that in terms of having those breakout performances, then just some consistent results throughout the rest of the day, if they can do something similar over day 2, I would have a good hope that they make it into tomorrow. To a high placing, at least.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something they're going to be thinking about, as with all our teams. I think a team that kind of surprises us being up in the top 3 here is Besiktas, right? Obviously kicking off with a chicken dinner on Rondo, but maintaining fairly steady point scoring across the day. They did have a couple of dips, but their medium games are pretty powerful, I think, compared to like what we've seen from quite a lot of other teams. And I think that's where tournaments kind of are what can be won or lost, right, is on your middle performance games. Your middle and low performance games are where it really, really matters in terms of how you're going to be able to extract point value from those games. There's a lot of focus on chicken dinners, right? And obviously they are a big factor. You can earn a lot of points in one go, and in certain situations that might be what you need. But I keep harping on about consistency, about raising the point mark by adding to those middling games.
Yeah, there's certainly, I think for Besiktas though, you know, they got 19 points off of their first game of the day, which was on Rondo. So that's 19 points out of their 42. So almost half of their points were earned on that first game. And I think that that's important because that Rondo wasn't too difficult for them to win out. They had chosen the right space on the side of the map. They had so much room to work with. A lot of the teams were battling amidst one another to try and get towards that end game. And for Besiktas, that was sort of cleanup. So I think that it's somewhat lucky. And then you have 2 games that they had that day with 0 points. Nothing at all. And then I think the other highest elimination game they had was 6. So that's only a slight worry for me. Which is why I think that when I look at the Team Falcons, for instance, I have higher hopes in them. So 8th place, 4 elims, 4th place, 3 elims, 16th place, 1 elim, so we avoid the 0-point game. 2nd place, 12, 10th with 3, and 10th with 4 again. So it's just getting Team Falcons through towards that end game that might help them out. But yeah, I think that's a much more promising scoreline at 38 points than Team Besiktas with 42. But yeah, we'll see.
It's yeah, I would agree that the Falcons demonstrating a lack of 0-point games is real nice stuff. Hey, what are they supposed to be on the stage? What's going on there? They're sitting down with their Infinix GT30s, having a game of PUBG Mobile, relaxing, chilling. Goodness me, looking good in the suits though.
Absolutely. We saw him trying to get away with stealing a trophy earlier, which he tends to do quite often. I'm surprised they keep inviting him back.
Yeah, they need to set a ring around it, a no sandstorm zone around that trophy. It's seems to be a recurring occurrence. There you go, a recurrence even. You know what? Should we play some PUBG Mobile?
Yes, we could do.
I think we should do that because I'm seeing that there's a lobby actually loaded in.
We'll
be taking a look at that fairly soon because we're going to look at the overall rankings first.
I'm doing the hosting now.
I've already done it now. What are you going to do about it?
How dare you?
Oh, dear.
But yeah, we're ready with the overall rankings. You talk me through it then. Go on.
Oh, well, Ulf at the top. They have 66. Okay, I thought they had 65, but either way, they are having a good time there at the top of the tables. 58 points behind them is Regnum Kaya. They're looking to chase them down, and that's what the story will be for me today. Are Ulf going to be able to carry on this massive performance that they had in day one?
Yeah, I mean, Regnum Kaya, certainly a really, really strong team. I am putting a lot of backing behind this squad. I think it's a very, very strong squad. I think Silas also genuinely just a nice guy, it seems, from everything we've seen in the past. I mean, even last spring, getting his dad out and them getting emotional about that was quite sweet to see. You like to see some emotions from the players because a lot of times you don't. You either see anger or elation in between losing a game or winning. Jekko, also interesting team for me right now. Don't know too much about the players personally, but it is cool to see them at 33 points, considering their performances throughout the league stage. And then it was almost a final hurrah in their knockouts to get them into those finals. So very, very cool stuff. X-Lay, 1 chicken dinner with, oh my God, 1 chicken dinner and 10 placement points.
Yeah.
So that's all they've had yesterday is just that 1 chicken dinner for placements. Yeah. Ooh, that's rough.
And most of those Elim points came from that game as well. It was a 7 Elim chicken dinner, which means that 17 of their 23 points were earned in that one game. So only 6 points earned on the rest of the day. 5 of them were in Rondo as well. So they only got 1 point on our normal maps outside of their chicken dinner.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. But Rondo should be here shortly. I believe, at least.
Have I been baited by this? Because I did say that it looked like we might have a game ready. Because I'm looking at our map feed, I'm seeing a Rondo with 64 players in it, running around right now. And everyone in the crowd is sat down. You can see every seat has a bum, you know. We're sitting everyone. And I'm sure they'll be standing up fairly soon in support of whichever team they so choose. At the moment, I think we're over the Cara zone of the states, of their standings. The stands, there we go. And they will hopefully support their team. Cara, during the course of yesterday, I think they had like 1 good game. And then outside of that, really weren't super great. So hopefully they can please their crowd a little bit more today.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious of why Cara has such a abnormally large following.
People like it. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess so. I think maybe it's an influencer thing, I suppose. Must be. I need to look into it a little bit more. I know this guy's popular. He's with Cara. I remember him from last season. But yeah, perhaps that's the case. Either way, for Cara, like you say, it's not been craziest of turnouts, but it's nice to see they have a massive fan following behind them.
They certainly do. Although the other team with the Wolf logo were able to keep up an average of 8 elims per match, which is very impressive. I mean, when we talk about Ulf, right, they just outperformed everybody yesterday. Obviously, a lot of those elims came from their game 2, 17 elims in one game, which is not on a Rondo, which makes it even more incredible. And then across the rest of the day, their lowest elim game was 3 on game 4, our final Erangel. Other than that, really, really solid stuff. So definitely one to watch out for.
It looks like, well, the lights are coming on. I'd be excited to know if the game is starting. I have to wait and see. Yeah, I think for Ulf, even if they got 17 elims in that one match, 8 elims average is still very impressive. A better Fireflux, let's say. I don't know, man. It felt like Ketch is. I think Ketch just hated playing on Fireflux. I think that's what that was.
Maybe. Yeah, he's just got rid of the branding. They've reskinned.
Because he's playing well now again. Because he used to be in the past, he just didn't. From the very beginning of his career, insane player. Incredible player.
Yeah. I mean,
stays on Fireflux a little bit longer. In all honesty, he's washed at that point. He was washed.
I think that it could be a case of you sort of get so stuck in a long-term like team situation, and that dynamic, it feels like you just can't change it, right? So you maybe you feel something isn't going right, but it's like, oh, this is what we've been doing for 5 years at this point. Maybe he just needed a breath of fresh air, sort of get some room around and get some perspective on his gameplay.
Yeah,
and bring that sort of talent back.
I think getting Aaron in the mix is probably a good injection of talent, because he's one of the younger players, I would say, in terms of PMSL EU, who has come into this a little bit later than Ketch. But I think that he probably has different ideas about the game that perhaps Ketch has. But there we go. Rondo is our first game of the day, and we are finally here. Excited to get into it. Match number 7 out of 18. And we're almost there, John. 3 more games and we're halfway.
Oh, yeah. We're looking to keep this one rolling, and we are jumping straight in to proceedings here on Rondo. You can see the plane path coming from Jadina up towards Nanchuan on that northwest corner. Of course, the big feature of Rondo, as we talked about so many times, are the recall beacons. Expect hot drops, expect early to mid-game fights, and expect that to lead to messy rotations in towards the middle and late game circles. It has been a nightmare for teams to try and make sense of this one, and we'll see if they've been able to find some sanity.
Jadana City up towards Nanchuan. You know what I really like? I like being able to say the names of all these places. Very fun to say as a commentator. And the couple of times I spent in China, I have learned some pronunciation habits. Not all. But
we're open to advice. We'll put it that way. Oh dear. Yeah, we'll get around to it. I'm sure. Well, it's new for everyone. Northwest circle there, end of the plane path should be fairly all right, unless there's this embroilment around stadium. I think Ulf wanting to claim that one, but Fenerbahce may be getting in trouble with it. Also, is that Anathosis Famagusta as well underneath them? I believe it is around that stadium area. So far, shots into the sky from Ida. Not going to connect though, just backing it off.
K9 as well. Not ideal for this stage of the game, but you can get some nice little pot shots off early. Circle heads over towards the northwest side, so towards stadium actually, around test track on that southeast side. So this does mean there can be a huge amount of fighting. There is a lot of recall stations in this area. Metcap with a knife. This is X-Slay, who also has a knife.
Oh dear. Bit of bullfighting going on there. But Darkin, he's been a little bit more reasonable. Metcap though, back to the knife fight in the tent. Oh, one slash across. And he needs it. Metcap able to get the clock there on Delation, but the rest of X-Slay moving around. A lot of their players going down, but they are taking their toll in response. I think both of these teams at this point want to disengage. I mean, they are right on top of this recall beacon, which means that you do have to fully flee. And going for this early, I mean, I like this. They know that they're going to be looking for weaponry. Not too many sightlines are going to be under control. So getting these players back in now, a solid choice. And Emre can't really look to the skies in this spot.
It's 3 elims. I think Ida wants 3 elims. Player's going to be parachuting down. I mean, Emre needs to win this 1v1. Right now, he's taking quite a bit of damage, though. Good crouch underneath the window, gets across. Neo with a nade. I mean, wouldn't need to do a lot of damage to him, considering he's already quite low, and there it is, yeah.
Able to get that first nade elimination, but there is a second recall beacon being dropped on by Ida. And they're far afield, and they should just be able to pull themselves back up. Metcap will want to disengage here. I wonder if he's got a gun, though. Or is he still on the knife?
Yeah, probably still on the knife. Oh no, barrel. Good damage, actually. Very good damage. Instantly traded off, though. But that's delay. And they are kind enough to immediately flush him so they can get better use out of their recall station. That's a lot of players coming for looks.
Okay, he's got the shotgun on the staircase, though. It's not going to work because Spike's got one of his own. And he turns it around. Fenerbahce losing a player. And a point added for Anathosis Famagusta. This is over towards this western side, or the southwest side of this next circle. Could be a little bit troublesome. You can see these recalls just coming in thick and fast as everybody's bringing their teammates back to life once more. Simple Domac with a little bit of response over to Spike. And doing pretty well with it. Might be a little bit tricky to get to the recall beacon, but that northwest side might be under control. Anathosis Famagusta, hang on a minute. Have they just been fully wiped? Or are they down to 1?
Down to 1. As indicated by the green pip.
Yeah. And the guy recalling his entire team.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the early game is going to be a little bit of action here and there. Magnum Kari coming against Falcons. Now Valo gets taken down by Loxy. There's some really clean shots into another. And this is what Zed Wolf's always been known for. Very clean off angles. Redox finds a shot over towards Another player from Regnum Kaya who are coming in very quickly to help assist Loxy, who is doing the do-si-do around the vehicle. Lived for quite some time and maybe delayed just long enough for Regnum Kaya to get over there.
We'll see if they do want to get over there, or if they want to disengage and just keep their players alive, get that recall. The Falcons are a little bit the worse for wear on the fight, so we'll see if they can keep it going. But with Silas getting knocked, I think this is time for Regnum Kaya to disengage if they can. But Zed Wolf and Wild, they're going to keep the pressure up, and Falcons going to be playing on us too. Maybe they also want to disengage from this. Going down early in this situation, really not ideal. And Besiktas trying to make that the case for Anathosis Famagusta as they rock up. Trying to move on in, trying to take ground here.
Besiktas winning out yesterday on Rondo. And that is a unbelievably good lineup. Skewers them like a kebab there.
Goodness me. What a spray down there along the side of the building for Falconist. Moving in now to execute on those points. But again, it's still early enough. Teams can just get these recalls. You can see the Falcons, they've got their recall. Regnum Kaya, not too sure where they are, but I'm sure that they are looking for a beacon as quickly as possible. One that they can use to bring everyone back to life. Kamikaze taking a knock from Kara. Well, hang on a minute. Oh, okay. That was the finish onto Spike on the spray down from Falconist, not just a pan elim. Goodness me. I don't think we've seen one of those in a long time. People are much more prone to using the knives in the early game.
Well, you take a pan, but you can get it. Good for defensive capabilities as well. A lot of times, now that we get the knife as the initial item of choice, we'll forget that the pan is basically tier 4 armor, completely blocking bullets when shot from the back. I think Regnum Kaya heading up towards Ryan. I mean, they've already got 4 eliminations off this game. I think they're quite pleased with it. The 3 of them were on to Falcons, and then another 1 over towards BR8. They rotate in a similar fashion, but BRA went straight past Stadium, had a little bit further over towards that northwest side. And Besiktas still playing it very slow. Asgard will get a res off themselves, so back up to 4.
I mean, so far, like, we've seen 20 eliminations come on through, and we've only lost 3 players, and they can also be rezzed. This is actually being set to be a really high elimination edition game here as more and more start to get taken away. Oh, Anathosis Famagusta might actually be in a spot of bother here. With the 1 player left now, it's imperative that they find a recall beacon to make this game work for them.
It's the second time they've been wiped down to 1 player, so very much not having a good day so far. And that's versus Besiktas, who yet again are pumping points here on Rondo. No stopping the train for them. Bit of hovering going on over there. All that was about. And on back to this awful area of the map on the northwest side around Nanshuan. Yeah, horrible area. BRA knows to immediately get a move on. But because it's so undecided between the 2 areas, you are somewhat worrying where to play on this one. I think you just have to play the side you're given. Regnum Kaya went to Ryan. They got that res off. If I was them, I think I'd just send it direct down towards Nanshuan, maybe one of the compounds on the outside, the one particularly just off towards the east.
Interesting on the res there for Anathosis Famagusta. They were able to, obviously with the parachutes, get a lot of ground covered over towards Nantuan. And I think that actually the player who's going to suffer the most is the person who recalled them all. Malaz had to break up towards the north. And are they still on 2? Did they get pinged away in the sky? I think they might have done. I'm not too sure. Brad didn't manage to get any of those points, so maybe not. Not too sure where Sefkan is. Oh, sorry, not Sefkan. The rest of Anathosis Famagusta. But Real getting spotted. Besiktas likely to pick up that point. But there's still so much time on these recall beacons.
I mean, it's still a lot of them up and available for teams to pick up. Especially squads coming in from that western side as well, John, because over in that area, you have an instance where Besiktas are coming through. They'll pass by that res beacon. There's plenty of other teams also in that area.
Ooh. Getting mashed up there on the EMP zone as well. This is and I will say this, I will bring this back again. It is a really high elimination game here on Rondo with, I mean, everybody doing so much damage. It looks like we do have our first team fully confirmed. So that's 4 elims locked in as real compared to the rest of our matches. Anathos Famagusta as well, going to really struggle to get a recall here. So I imagine that those 3 are going to stick. So out of all of these elims, I think we've seen upwards of 25 now coming on through, and 20 of them at least are going to be fully bonus, and they are really going to impact these standings. With 8 elims for Besiktas already, that is a really great start for them. The question is, can they move in right now? Because they are going to be behind the queue on the western side, moving over towards Nanchuan on that north edge. Ulf as well, with 0 elims so far, get a really strong rockside spot, overlooking Nanchuan from this hilltop, overlooking the river crossing to the far side as well.
Yeah, there's an instance right now where for Besiktas, it's just another strong game here on Rondo. So specializing on this map, you get a ton of points and then you sort of wither throughout the rest of the day. That's not great, but it will keep you in the running. I think they're very pleased to have that in their wheelhouse. Kaya really take the time, and honestly, they could have had that compound that Falcons picked up. And I do massively respect that rollout from Falcons to grab that compound. It's on the outside of Nanchuan. It is not forcing you into a location where you are stuck in the city, and gives you a lot of options going forward, especially if this was going to move back down towards the southwest side, which is where it feels like it starts to lean.
Yeah, it went all the way up to the north, and it was like, oh, I'll definitely go to Nanchuan, and then it went, nah, actually, I think I'll cut to 50-50 and see what happens. Recall beacons still in the zone. I'm looking at the Noisy Boys who've been sat on that recall beacon for a while, although they haven't got stuck in 20 fights. They haven't got any elims yet. They do have a lot of it under control. You can see the high ground angle they've got over towards Darkin, who's taking a lot of damage, and the spray downs there continue, but Mazzara not quite connecting fully for the points on that one. In the meantime, Falcons are defending their pitch over towards Jekko.
Fair enough as well. I think for the Falcons, this is a very good staging area for them. And seriously necessary. They want to win out this game. But it's not going well for Jekko right now, Joe.
They have one player left, and he is in a spot where he can very easily get these reses. And you say it's not going well for Jekko. Redox is actually left alone as well. Can Regnum Kaya wrest control of this? As actually Jekko are going to be able to get back to 3 here fairly convincingly with Xlay rolling in. That's going to preoccupy Redox. He can't take those maneuvers. Scarface has brilliant oversight on this. He's very, very split off. A nade in though. Redox cooking. Can he get it through? Can he land it? Bounces, not quite connecting.
Yeah, this is a tough nade to hit as well, and they're constantly moving. You get a little bit of chip damage, but not much more than that for Redox. You can see here, there's plenty of areas where the boys from Jekko can just hide out. Surprised it went so badly for the Falcons there, and you wonder if it was a case of Redox just wasn't in the fight and not ready to take those shots with the rest of the team. They're a little bit further away. And Jekko do go for these mad dashes quite often. Throw caution to the wind, make it happen. And this is how that they've been still building on some kind of points despite, you know, maybe not being the most fearsome squad in the lobby.
Jeez, I just had a train horn go right outside my window. That's crazy, sorry. I'm back in though. Loxy, however, not so lucky, getting knocked and flushed by Xlay on the off angle. The approach to this fight, as it may conclude fairly soon. Redox wants to hold his nerve, has one nade, a Molotov on the door frame. That's going to slow Jekko down, force them in through the one opening. And he's got the shotgun, trained, ready to execute here. Needs to step out, no. Backs off, plays the angle, has a nade in hand, he's cooking. The door gets shut. Jekko do not want to let this one go. Open the door, no, he shuts it in his face. Almost takes himself down there. That could have been disastrous. But Xlay still not getting stuck in. They're already with Regnum Kaya on the outside, who are down to 3. Those recall beacons will be shot off fairly soon now, Blank. So it is time to make your move if you want to get back to 4. Jekko get the res, but Redox steps out for another, and he goes blow for blow with it, and will not take a lick of damage in response. Symphony are not able to land, opens the door. Can Redox find what he's looking for? Merciless on a sliver of HP, but no, it will not be good enough. Redox with a valiant hold, but the Falcons fall.
The fact that Merciless doesn't go down there actually ruins Redox's push. I think if he was a tiny bit lower, very different story. Very, very different story. Very well played, Redux there. X-Slay being very annoying for Regnum Kaya at the moment. Constantly hovering around this third party, I guess, over towards JetGo as well as the boys over on the Falcons, but never really fully committing to it. So Regnum Kaya couldn't also get stuck in. I would be pretty upset if I was Regnum Kaya. You were expecting X-Slay to go for something there. Instead, they just send off into the distance and just get exploded by Ulf.
I mean, that's what happens when you try and crash onto Ulf on their really incredible rockside position. You know, we saw them in it earlier. They had been a little bit quiet. They've just been delivered a couple of elims, a little resupply. That's very nice to be able to add those ones to the tally. And they're in a really dominant spot. But speaking of being dominant, Besiktas on 11 elims, Blank. At 16 minutes in, they've been able to farm this western side. But have they finally gone a step too far? Have they kept themselves overexposed for just that little bit too long? They've lost a player now. With Boran getting claimed by the play zone, they're down to 3 players.
Okay, last remaining. I never really thought about that, but the explosive bow actually is really good at creating impromptu cover. You know, a lot of times people are expending grenades to make that happen, but actually the bow does it very quick.
And a lot more targeted as well. Because with a nade, it could bounce. You're like, oh, I missed through it. The explosive bow's like, bang, as a whole. Have your dividend.
That's like kind of meta. Ulf's still going crazy as Regnum Kai struggles to get in. I actually am kind of frustrated with X-Slay there. Me personally, no. Let's put it that way. For Regnum Kaya, I would be really annoyed though with X-Slay because they essentially protect JetGo, and I'm sure there's no collusion involved right now. I'm 100% sure there isn't. But it's because they're so afraid to take that fight. They essentially act as a blockade between Regnum Kaya and actually going for the third party, which is what X-Slay should have been doing there. They absolutely should have gone for the third party, but they act as a blockade and then just go kill themselves. It's like, all you've done is just ruin our game and your own.
It's like, my job here is done. Swishes the cape and immediately walks into the cupboard.
The lobby needs me.
Goodness me. Kara trying to defend, playing off against IWNRX. IWNRX, no elims so far. Definitely needing to rack up those numbers as fast as possible. Kara wanting to put on a show for their home crowd advantage as well. With an aid from CEO. They find Frozen, but goes a little bit wide on that. They're blasting them back, playing around that deployable cover as well that we've been seeing being so impactful in these middle to late game scenarios. And hopefully they can use it to their advantage. IWNRX take a knock, and that is outside the blue with it closing in about 30 seconds. They need this res to come fast.
Frozen swinging off to the right side here. Nade goes through. Good damage on top. No Molotov to finish the job though, and no more nades on Lewis. Marceau just tries to go for the rundown, or at least identify where he's playing. But Besiktas up high, they're still not done. Still pumping those points. 13 eliminations now. This is a ginormous game for them. And absolutely fair. If you want to get all your points on Rondo, there's one way to do it. And I think that it is also helpful, John, that this is a very, very similar position of the map where Besiktas won yesterday. They know how they like to play this.
There's a chance there for the nade on the flush, and it will take... No, it's actually the spray down from Ketch. Ulf, I mean, this high ground position for Ulf, they established it early. The circle has helped them out on this, and it's shifted again up towards them. I feel like this is going to be an Ulf chicken dinner, right? This feels like the time. Unless Besiktas are able to keep their pace and feeling real hot right now with 3 players, are going to be able to do so much. But with Ulf's position, with their overlook, with their dominance of the area around them, I just don't think there's any way that they get taken down here.
It is. I mean, I think it's still too early to tell, though, because you have this instance right now where the circle could hard shift southwest. I think if we're playing the odds game, I think you'd be right, but I don't think you can say this with certainty. Who's going to win on this one, just because of the way the river cuts through the middle of this one. So tough. Zeptimus, I don't know, headers that nade. Smoke everywhere, shrapnel all over the place. Man's made of metal. Doesn't take a lick of damage.
He became one with the rock. He was basically Dwayne at that point. He just didn't take any damage from
Actual
that
stone
one.
form.
Lovely little stone form, exactly. Besiktas, they're still on the fight. They are going to clash with Papara Supermassive right now. Of course, with 3 players alive, it's a little bit harder. Ulf may be able to take shots out this way. It's just a bit out of range, potentially, for the majority of Ulf, so could be isolated. Besiktas now crunched a little bit. On this hilltop, they've had a lot of power. Obviously, they've been afforded a lot by their position. Nades over the top, looking for Papara Supermassive, and an answer with a nade. Falconist doesn't go down, but the info's gathered, and he has to back off the angle. Papara Supermassive, charge him down.
I mean, Nico sending out that he knows that Besiktas is on the back foot, starting to push away. But Papara Supermassive, again, this is what I'm talking about. They're consistently into these late games, no matter what. I'm just waiting for them to get one of those massive games coming through. Rookie on this rock is very hard to deal with here, John. The fact that he has oversight down the hill towards IWNRX, but that is a great shot from Kakali, and a very much needed one. Nico preparing to make this push.
I don't think that IWNRX can move up here with Kara on this oversight. They are going to be the ones feeling the brunt of the pain here. One player from Kara has gone down. This is potentially going to give Besiktas a chance to get this res and see what they can do here. But Kara go down to an off angle from Eren on Ulf across the way. It helps. And the circle blank, it shifts out to the west side. And maybe Ulf have to move. The res potential here for Besiktas and Papara Supermassive tentative on their push. They don't know who's there. And the nade from Falconist brings Besiktas up to 16 elims. Blank. IWNRX are exploded in the valley.
That's a nuts nade from Besiktas. I think that the little shoeid that Ulf makes there might be their undoing, just because it gives a general idea of the locale that team is coming from. So now Papara Supermassive and Besiktas can both go prepare for that. The saving grace is that Ulf does have a player on that southwest side. That is a sad nade that comes through, catches him as he's running away, falls flat on his face in the dust.
This is very, very difficult for Ulf. You're right that they will struggle here. And the nades keep going through. They're really struggling against the 2 players from Regnum Kaya who might be able to get this res. And because they were playing so split blank, they do not have the ability to get these reses as fast as they would like. A good nade, not quite on target, but the spray down certainly is. Scarface isn't going to let that one phase them. And now the res can come through. In the meantime, Besiktas looking to try and stay alive, but Papara Supermassive may have been clued into the fact that they are only 3. Now with Septimus down, there's only 2. And I don't think they've got any more nades left in the pocket here. Septimus flushed away. Is this the end of their run? Because Ulf are starting to gain steam with 10 elims themselves.
Yeah, they still have to wrap down over towards TMB, last player from BRA, playing as 3. They just have to hope that their spy on the other side of the map can live long enough to let this one go through. Darkin gets taken out. Very, very tough here now.
This is the second rondo. This is the second rondo that we've had on this river, right? With 2 opposing massive high grounds on this cut valley. It's so difficult, and these teams are going to hate it.
It's one of those. It's very hard to predict. You don't really know where it's going to go. It's going to take raw skill and action to make this happen. I like this split from Papara Supermassive, covering both angles right now. It's slightly dangerous in case Besiktas pushes, but I think that Papara Supermassive are fairly confident that Besiktas aren't going to make a move like that. Still, 16 eliminations is lovely. Eren has been a terror on these long-range shots, though.
He's kind of nothing compared to Falconist right now. Look at what this man has done. 8 of their elims come from him. He is half the team on his own right now. The Noisy Boys, they stayed quiet for so long. They held their recall beacon, playing the good game, but that's all for naught, as they will go down in 7th place, it seems, fairly soon. Well, not just yet, but with Ulf on the hunt, you've got to imagine that this is going to be, dangerous. 3 and a 4 in a vehicle? No, 3 in a vehicle, and they're rolling up to the Noisy Boys. Could be dangerous if a nade hits them. The spray down of the vehicle goes too far. Ooh, no, the Noisy Boys get taken out, but I think Ulf have been separated.
It's still okay, though. They can play this out fairly comfortably. trying to take the wheels off the car. It's hard to do. Nico goes down to Ketch off in the distance. These shots have been disgusting. It's nice to see Ketch still taking these shots as well, hitting them at long range. Like I said, the guy had been somewhat struggling over the past year and a half or so, compared to his debut almost 3 years ago, where he shocked the world and wowed everyone with an unbelievably strong performance. Sadly, will go down as he skirts down the cliff face.
Yeah.
This job's pretty much done at 16 elims total. And this is Scarface's playground.
Absolutely. He's opening up with a 6x on the AUG. It's a beautiful spray down opportunity. Ketch does get flushed, and they're playing on as 3, and they're up to 16 elims blank. They saw Besiktas chasing them down. They were like, guys, we're actually the first place team. We're doing 16 elims as well. That's just what we've got to do. And they are probably in one of the better spots here. Papra Supermassive, the only team that can change the tune, and they're making their move now. Falcon is making the dash. Papra Supermassive will turn over the hilltop, and that will be the end of Besiktas. But they still get a huge game. A 5th place and 16 elims. That is monstrous on those point scoring totals. I would not be too surprised to see them try and keep this one going as well. But Ulf, now the team to beat. Papra Supermassive in the drink.
Yeah, dropping down. I mean, a lot of bullets coming through. It's from Solus, who have been playing this off angle, well prepared for a maneuver like this from Papra Supermassive. Ulf has absolutely everything covered right now. Papra able to get underneath. 18 eliminations on the game, and like I said, Scarface, widely known as one of the best long-range players in the game, still making it work. 19 eliminations now, looking for the 20 bomb.
They could get up to 22 here, and Kamikaze is on the menu. Will be found as well. 2-0. They have guaranteed a 30-point chicken dinner if they can convert. Of course, there's 2 players still for them to contend with, but I'm expecting denial here. I'm expecting Papra Supermassive to move out. Oh, maybe not. Okay, they're stepping up. Lost and Tron B trying to scale this cliff. Solus breaking out wide. I think they know that this off angle's a danger. Will get spotted. Sprayed down for 1. Eren peeks over the top. They're too worried about the off angle. They do not realize that the thrust of the spear comes from Eren. And there is that spray down on the off angle. A 22-point chicken dinner. They have got 32 points to kick off the day. Blank. They almost get half of yesterday's points in one match. And Ulf are terrifyingly competent.
That's going to shoot Ulf into the stratosphere in terms of points off that game. What a match from them. On the complete wrong end of the circle as well, the majority of that game. So cool, though, to see Scarface in his element. Like, that is where he shines. Eren didn't let anyone get close to him either in that close combat scenario. You just had this nice tandem between both those players. Scarface taking care of anyone at distance. Eren, nobody could get close to this guy. And on the monolith they go.
The first team to double up as well. You could see just on the bottom left of where they placed the new placard. It is their repeated chicken dinner. The first team to find 2. But they don't need that tiebreaker, Blank, because they are going to be so far ahead. They're nearly at 100 points now, just off of that game.
Yeah, it's very, very wild stuff. I think for Ulf, very promising team. It's nice to see as well, because I think that I kept talking about them in knockout stages, saying that I expected much, much more from this squad, yet it never seemed to come to pass. Finally feel a little bit of vindication now here in the finals, at least, which is nice. It is nice. But I think it will be hard to catch up to this squad now. I think that sets them far ahead. Anyone else? Regdom Karius still get a good shooting on that game, though. Besiktas also with the 16 elims. It's a strong match from them. It's just strange, though. I think Besiktas sort of gets... I don't want to say lucky, but it is their wheelhouse of a game there in their quadrant of the map. So it does make life easier, especially when it's such a large map anyway.
Yeah, it's... I feel like even like Besiktas' game was a little bit overshadowed by Ulf in this scenario, but they did do phenomenally well to fight out and win. They were stuck in some real nasty spots. And of course, that big nade over to IWNRX was a real highlight. And the MVP is Scarface, going up to 8 elims, 1,132 damage. I feel like it might be pretty close between him and Falconist. I'm not sure who was able to get more done in that game, but I think the damage did just eke out for Scarface. Could have been survival time as well. Obviously, Ulf lasting right until the end, and that long range hunt was on for Scarface. He did the work. The rest of the team beautifully syncopated with him.
Let's take a look at the match statistics from that game, because honestly, I'm imagining every single player there was doing fairly good work, because Solus even is able to get more damage than Scarface that match. Very, very interested to look at the team stats from Ulf after this one. Falconist with 4 grenades. We saw a lot of those come through after that massive elimination and wipe over to IWNRX, who are inside the ditch. One well-placed grenade was all it would take. But again, it's the first time I actually quite like to see the distance covered. And it is from Tron B on Papara Supermassive. And I think that it's very important to take a look at that, because Papara Supermassive on pretty much every single game throughout yesterday, after I think the first 2, were just getting towards those end circles. And it's not, I mean, goodness me, it's not because they're getting lucky. They're taking very, very long treks to get there. But what is this? A 4K damage game is unbelievable.
That's 4,219 damage inflicted on the rest of the lobby. Blank, that might have broken all records that I've seen before. That is absolutely insane. It's so close. Can you imagine if every single player had 1,000 damage? That would be absolutely incredible, but it's just not quite. However, that kind of doesn't matter, right? Over 1,000 average damage across the team. Nobody was slacking. Everybody pulling their weight here. And that is just... that is monstrous.
Yeah, very good decision making from them early on. Understanding that's where they were going to get the most points from, right, on that side of the map. And I think the interesting thing about it is that I think that's again, it's a nice parallel to make with Xlay. Xlay, who's too afraid to even go for a third party onto Jetgo as well as the Falcons, effectively holding Regnum Kari out for more time than they can handle. They wanted to squeeze through at some point, but there was never a moment where the traffic jam wasn't in effect. Compared to Ulf, who understands that location, they're going to have to battle. They're going to have to get some real grit going there. And they are going to be in a cage match with every other team in the lobby if they want to even begin to think to survive in that spot. But they made it happen because they trusted themselves and they had confidence. And I think that spot does require you to puff out your chest a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to be hotly contested now. What's interesting, based on what happened from that last game, I was just thinking about points totals now. For Ulf, if they're able to keep up pace now with their average point scoring, the smash boundary is going to be out of reach for everybody else, right, at the start of tomorrow. And it will severely reduce the probability that, first of all, we'll see a smash victory. And second of all, that Ulf could be taken down from it, right? It would be such a massive gap that we'll see there. And I think that could be an interesting dynamic, depending on what Ulf can do for the rest of the day. Because my big question was, can they keep their performance rolling into today? I feel like it's a resounding answer that they've given me right at the start. And
it is.
I've greatly enjoyed it, but my goodness me.
It's also funny the way they do it as well. It's almost to spite you a little bit. Yeah. In a way, though, we'll head back to the stage and we'll be back soon. So we'll catch you after this.
Güz finallerinde heyecan nasıl gidiyor arkadaşlar? Hangi takım daha iddialı? Duyamadım. Arkadaşlar dün akşam S2G'nin geri dönüşüyle gerçekten çok büyük heyecan duyduk. Açıkça kendi adıma söyleyeyim. Ama bütün takımlar da büyük şampiyona ciddi derecede kök söktürüyorlar. Ulf'e de açıkçası hayran kaldık. Onlara da kocaman bir alkış alalım. Bir Beşiktaş taraftarı olarak da onların da iyi gittiğini söyleyebilirim. Karya da süper gidiyor. Davut'la birlikteyiz. Arkadaşlar 5 tane mousepad'imiz var. 5 mousepad ama öyle böyle değil arkadaşlar. Bakın muhteşem, olağanüstü Infinix'ten hediye olarak sizlere geliyor. 5 mousepad kim istiyor arkadaşlar? Görelim. Bir dakika, en yüksek sesi çıkaran tarafa doğru verin.
Okay, so
Duyamadım.
okay.
I can't hear them.
Okay, so all I know is we have 5 mouse pads, and I have to choose 5 people, and then we'll have our lovely staff reach out to you and give you the mouse pads. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick 1 person from that side, 1 person from that side, and then 3 from here. Okay? I'm gonna try and give everyone an opportunity. So, let's see who I'm gonna choose. I'm gonna start from over there. Who's gonna follow me? Let's go. Come on, come on. Okay, over here.
Arkadaşımız
First one.
First one.
mousepad için 5
First one.
arkadaşımız
Let's
seçecek.
go. Okay, so I'm not sure who to choose. I want to see if we have any supporters from all the teams. Okay, you know what? You. Black jacket, yes. That's our first one right there. And we'll go back to this side. Let's have a look-see. Alrighty. Okay, you know what? Since Ulf did very, very well in the first game, I mean, you were talking 32 points. No, Ulf fans, where are you? Ulf, where? Did they all leave? Okay, fine. You, that's a, okay, I love that shirt. So, number 2, mousepad number 2 over here. Number 3, I'll choose you. I like it, yeah. Number 3, right here. Number 4, make some noise, come on, make some noise. Yeah, okay, I like your energy. I like that. Number 4, right there, S2G jersey. Row number 2. And our last one, let's have a look-see. Okay, you know what, fine. Final one for you. There we go. All right, that's our 5 mouse pads. I'll have our lovely staff reach out to you, and then hopefully we'll get our rewards. Don't worry, there's more. Now, we have wheel spins.
Arkadaşlar çok teşekkür ediyoruz Davut'a. Bana iş bırakmadığı 5 tane arkadaşımızı çarçabuk bir şekilde seçtiği için kendisine çok teşekkür ediyoruz. And very thank you because you chose very fast.
I have to make it quick. I mean, look, we have games. We have games to go through,
Thank
and
you,
also
my
we
friend.
have wheels to spin.
Let's time. Now we are... Ben niye İngilizce konuşuyorum ki?
Turkish is yours, English is mine.
Evet. Biz şimdi çarkı çevireceğiz. Spin wheel'la birlikte hediyeleri sizlere dağıtacağız. Hazır mısınız arkadaşlar? Kim için dağıtacağız? Hanımefendiyi
Okay, you
seçiyorum.
have to choose.
Hanımefendiyi seçiyorum. Hanımefendiyi seçtik. Bir kameraman arkadaşımız gösterebilir mi? Hanımefendi için geliyor. İşte burada hanımefendi için çeviriyoruz. Acaba ne çıkacak? Merak ediyorum. Penguin, benim için çevirir misin?
Yes, perfect. Yeah, give it a spin. Wait, what does she want to win? What does she want?
Ne istiyorsun? Ne istiyorsun? Ne çıksın istersin? T-shirt.
Okay, wait.
T-shirt.
T-shirt. Okay, we have a
Geldi
t-shirt.
işte.
That's our
Gerçekten
first one.
hiçbir hilesiz t-shirt kazandı.
Two more.
Okay. 2 tane daha istiyoruz. Kim olsun? Kim istiyorsun? Kim istiyor? Arkadaşımıza
Bilgehan.
veriyoruz. Hemen buradaki arkadaşımıza. Ne istiyorsun? T-shirt istiyor.
T-shirt as
Bakalım
well.
gelecek mi t-shirt?
Penguin, por favor. Don't know why we went with Spanish on that one.
Evet, önümüzdeki zaman diliminde update geliyor Penguin'le ilgili. Çılgın tavuk dansı dün nasıldı, iyi miydi? Ben çok beğendim. Pas. İşte tişört geldi. Tişört geldi arkadaşımıza.
One more, final one. I think we need to go there.
Bir arkadaşımız daha
Yellow,
geldi.
yellow shirt. Yes, you. What do you want? What present? T-shirt. Everyone wants a T-shirt. I love it.
Herkes tişört istiyor. Bir atkı isteyen yok mu arkadaşlar? Atkılar bana kalacak bak. Atkı da çok güzel. Atkı da çok güzel.
T-shirt. Okay. Penguin, please. Oh, wow. Bilgehan just stole that one. I wanted to spin, but okay.
Ne gelirse, tamam mı? Var mıyız? Ne gelirse. Pas gelirse de pas, tamam mı? Aa, yapma.
Çanta?
Bere geldi, bere
Çanta?
galiba. Bere. Bere geldi. Arkadaşımıza yeşil tişörtlü bereyi armağan ediyoruz.
That's it. 3 spins, done. 5 mouse pads given out. And don't worry, we have more spins, I believe, after match number 4. So don't go anywhere. And now we have match number 2 waiting.
Bir misafirimiz var. Vezir Bey burada mı? Fenerbahçe'den Vezir Bey burada mı? Fenerbahçe'den Vezir Bey'i davet etmek istiyorum.
No. No more.
Tamam.
We have
Bir
more after
sonraki
game 4.
zamanda misafir edeceğiz arkadaşlar. Şimdi birazdan ikinci maç başlayacak. Günün ikinci maçı. Çok heyecanlı bir durumdayız. Kim kazanacak, kim kaybedecek bilmiyoruz ama analiz masasında heyecan farklı bir noktaya gidebilir. Ve burada yarın Smash ile alakalı kuralı biliyorsunuz. Smash kuralı nasıl arkadaşlar? Gerçekten çok heyecan verici. Yarın bakalım ne olacak, bugün ne olacak? Çok büyük bir heyecan içindeyiz. Özellikle
Okay, you know what? Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've had a lot of fun, but I think it's time for us to get back to the games because I think the players are more than ready.
herkes çok heyecanlı. Şimdi analiz masasına gidiyoruz ve arkasından maçlar devam edecek arkadaşlar.
There we go. A lovely look at that lovely wheel that always dishes out the best prizes that everybody seems to always get what they want. It's a very curious wheel, that one. And of course, big fan of the penguin mascot. Always good to have that one thrown on in there. I'm sure we'll be seeing plenty more gifts and prizes being given out. And unfortunately, it's only for the people in the venue, guys. So if you didn't have a ticket, it's too bad. Maybe next season you could end up there and be grabbing some of those prizes for yourselves. So we'll be getting on, hopefully, fairly soon with our next match. Of course, we finished our rondo. It was absolutely crazy. If you didn't watch it, wait until the end of the show and then go back and watch it because it was absolutely insane. 2 teams getting, 16 elims for Besiktas. We were like, whoa, these guys are crazy. How's anyone going to beat them? And then Ulf just went around and said, you know what? Hold my chicken dinner. Actually, no, we'll take it back because they absolutely nailed it with a 22 elim chicken dinner. My goodness me. I mean, that is insane. And also third place team, Papara Supermassive, or second place in placement, you know what I mean? 11 points as well. This is really high point scoring. You can see that 3 point stretches all the way down to 13th place with Jekko, and only Asgard didn't get anything off of this match. The Noisy Boys as well, able to get a point from just finishing not in the bottom 8 of the lobby. But still, even though those 32 points were earned, the rest of the lobby still was able to do not awfully.
Yes. I think for Xlay as well, 4 points down here. It's just crazy that DMV is still able to get 1 elimination over in the 15th place. All for 98 points, almost breaking 100 points total on game 1 of day 2. That is some crazy stuff. Regnum Kaya at 65 points there, Besiktas over on 61. Regnum Kaya's keep it up, I guess.
I mean, you know what's absolutely crazy? They'd be first place on elims alone for Ulf right now. They have 70 elims.
Wait,
they have 70 elims, and if you took away everything else, they are still in first place. How incredible is that? I mean, you know, you add 22 elims to a tally, and that's kind of just what happens. But my goodness me, that is, I mean, that really puts it into perspective how dominant that has been. And now 33 points behind is second place. At this point, it's a race for second and third.
It really is. I mean, it's going to be hard to catch up to any of these squads. And it is so incredibly tight towards the bottom of the rankings. And you know what I think is respectable is that IWNRX is on 22 points. We have seen teams before in the past in 16th place on like 4 points come day 2. So I do think it's not a terrible thing that teams are still pushing, even on the second page here.
Yeah, that's... sorry, I'm still reeling from the... From the 70 Elim points, goodness me. IWNX Ria still languishing, unfortunately. Eating a nade from Besiktas, who were able to profit nicely off of their game. And still, yet to turn up here in these finals. Not ideal for them. We'll see if they can change their tune. But for now, they're starting to slip down with the likes of X-Slate and IWNX Ria.
I mean, IWNX Ria, I think they are... I don't think they're going to make it, honestly, at this point. But for the head-to-head, 13 total score here for Loxy, Nico over on 6. I think Lost realistically is the player that is actually putting in a lot of work in for Papara Supermassive, but I think Lost has kind of dropped off a little bit now for them. Again, I do need to see a little bit more out of Papara Supermassive. And even that last game had good positioning, but just couldn't quite contend with the firepower coming through from Ulf at the moment. And I think that's the big difference maker. Again, 70 Elim, unheard of.
Yeah, that's insane. Over 7 matches, 10 Elims average. We were exalting them for 8 average Elims at the start of the day. That was, we had a big fancy graphic for it and everything. And they just gone and, upped that by 2. What more do you want? Are you not entertained? These guys are putting on a show, and I'm absolutely loving it. I was just taking also a quick look at PMGC points. And of course, the points that you earn in the finals are what count towards your PMGC points, which means that Ulf, very likely to be top of the tables for Turkey. But if they're also top of the tables here, that's going to slip down. So potentially the team behind them could be in the running there. Ida, S2G, Kara, Regnum Kaya, all in with a chance of taking that spot. Papara Supermassive as well. I mean, there's a lot of contests for Turkey. Unfortunately, for the other regions, there's really not that much. It's basically Falcons are lock for Western Europe, and for Eastern Europe, it depends what the Noisy Boys are able to do here to surpass the Boars, who are on 105. So if the Noisy Boys get more than 105, they could be able to make it. And the best way for them to do that is to use their Infinix GT30 to the best of their ability. Of course, with 120 FPS, these guys are going to only have the best performance here, and hopefully they won't crack in their pursuit of greatness in these finals here at the PMSL Europe full season, with 6 R's on the hashtag. That's carry at the end, and that's what they're going to be looking to do for themselves on those points tables. Still, an outside chance for the Noisy Boys.
Do you know what I really like? I like all day 120 FPS. I like it when I get to the nighttime and I don't drop down.
I'm dreaming in 120 FPS now. What the hell?
Yeah. Oh, that would be nice. That would be nice. Clarity of the clairvoyant visions that come to my dreams about Ulf winning this whole tournament. But yeah, it could be the case.
Could be.
I mean, to be fair, with my track record yesterday in terms of predictions, maybe not. But I didn't dream very well the other night. Okay.
No. Yeah, maybe, just keep your dreams to the Infinix GT30. And I think that's a much more achievable dream, certainly. Of course, anyone with one, congratulations. Anyone without one, I'm sure you'd love to have one. And if you want to be able to use one, maybe you should have qualified to the PMSL Europe finals, What are you doing? You're slacking. You could just go out and buy one, though.
Yeah, you could do. You could do, or you could just qualify.
Or just qualify.
Just qualify, guys. I mean, to be fair, I think that even though I am just saying just qualify, I would highly recommend that if you're very interested in the competitive scene of PUBG Mobile, there's a lot of spots open, and there's plenty of players who've come in very late into the scene in this tournament in particular, who are doing really, really well and continue to put up fantastic performances. So I think that there is certainly a case to be made that just go participate in PMCO. If you have a group of friends, or you can find someone that you can scrim with, find a team that you can scrim with, and they like you, get on board. You never know. You might make it to the finals of PMSL EU4.
I think what the interesting thing about, the move towards a more structured and more quote unquote professional style of play is so much to do with team dynamics and so little to do with in-game mechanics, right? As much as you do need some in-game mechanical skill, the major talent comes from being able to work as a team, to be part of a unit that moves forwards, like we saw Ulf doing, right? They were all performing their roles seamlessly together. It was a well-oiled machine that they were able to find in that last match. And that is potentially, if you want to be on the road to the PMSL finals in your future, that's something that you definitely need to be learning from. But for now, we're going to have another Erangel for you to learn from. Of course, we're heading into match number 8, as we are going to kick off match 8 with a plane path from Novo up towards Georgia Pole.
Yeah, I mean, for this map in particular, it's a little bit tricky to get towards that east side. It's not too bad though. I think this is one of the worst plane paths in the world. If it was slightly further off towards the right, I think people would be happier. But this particular plane path is fine. I think most teams are pretty okay with it. Moving off towards the eastern side, it's BRA, who are jumping over towards Milta right now. Anathosis out early alongside with TMB, John, though, on Sosnovka is an interesting prospect.
Yeah, it could be a little scrap on the military base. And as I was talking about before, right, the Eastern Europe region is technically up for grabs here for the Noisy Boys. What they need to do is aim for more than 105 points on these finals, and they would get the Eastern Europe qualification spot on points. That is a fairly achievable goal. On 18 matches, that is something that you could definitely be setting your sights on, right? It's not the tallest of orders, and they've already managed to get 31 points in the first day, only the 1 point at the start of the day, so not a great result to keep up the pace there. But they definitely are on track to potentially find those averages, because over 18 matches, if you get a 6-point average per match, you're qualifying into the league stages of global finals.
No, it's not a ridiculous scoreline. And again, if Ulf continues to perform the way they're currently doing, you are squashing points requirement a lot. Because you're going to be stealing a lot of those points away from everyone else. Even the knockout stages, I would say that we had a bit of a points vacuum, which made it very volatile towards the bottom. It's actually the only thing that really allowed Jetgo to get in right in those final moments. So I think that I'll be very curious to see where that like top 6 lies at the end of all of this. Not considering the smash ruling. Because again, like Ulf could come out on day 3 swinging. They get themselves a ton of points. They win the smash ruling. There is a world where second place is in the double digits.
That's true. Yeah, the earlier you close it down, the less point scoring opportunity there is for the rest of the lobby to earn those PMGC points. That's very interesting. I'd consider that dynamic. That's something that people would be very, very worried about. But I would say that would require Ulf to, as you say, really come out the gate swinging, which we've seen they absolutely can do, right? With that last game. I feel like even on Rondo, that might have been an anomalous performance. I think it was tied with the highest Elim count we saw on a Rondo from knockout stage, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
We came through with a 22 Elim game. I feel like they deserved a 23 just so that they could have the record there. But you know what? The numbers don't lie. They were only able to get 22 and they couldn't break that 100-point barrier. A lot of early fighting going on here as Alathosis, Famagusta and the Noisy Boys do indeed clash.
I think that TMB has been so used to having Sosnovka all to themselves. This comes as a little bit of a shock to them, honestly. A tiny bit of a shock. But TMB is just heading out. Get themselves gone. Ida loses that player early on to a bodged drop on a vehicle. But a very, very fine circle on this one. I think most teams are pretty pleased with how this one's going down. No one's too worried about it. Abra Supermassive fairly close to the center, but you know who else is fairly close to the center? It's Ulf. Down south Rozhok way.
This is Regnum Kaya. What they tend to do is very early leave Rozhok, right? We saw that happen yesterday and they may have regretted it slightly, moving back over to Rozhok a little bit later on with the circle, but it's what they've done time and time again on circles that sort of contain this area. They break out east very, very quickly within the first 5 minutes of the game, and they really get their scouting done very fast. Ulf filled that vacuum over towards Rozhok last time. The circle was a little bit further north, so that dynamic could continue. But we are on board with Regnum Kaya, who are doing just that now. They have moved out to actually quite far southeast of Rozhok now.
Goodness me. And BRA, I think BRA is definitely the team that I was the most disappointed in over the entirety of this finals, though, John. I think the fact that BRA are only down on 26 points does lead me to believe that a lot of the massive performance they were able to come out of in the knockout stages were exactly how I assumed it was going, where it was a lot of luck, a lot of early fighting, a lot of high elimination games that came from some fortunate circumstances. It's not to say that BRA is a bad team. I think it was a little bit of a strange few days for that squad.
Kara looking to try and defend their pitch here. And as one of the teams that sort of had high hopes coming into this phase of the tournament, I thought maybe they could outperform themselves, because they have had these little glimmers, these little moments that we've seen from them over the course of the two previous stages, but they're really not bringing it on the stages, on this stage, unfortunately, and hopefully they can open up faster. Of course, the Rondo effect at the start of day two, right? And I don't blame teams for not really... well, maybe it is definitely still their fault, but I don't blame them for necessarily being super strong on Rondo strategy at the moment. This is the first season it's been implemented in this region, certainly, and across the world generally. It is still a fairly new trodden path, and I think that making those early adjustments are what teams are going to really look for in terms of earning super huge amount of excess points on Rondo. And I don't know if we've reached the final form of strategy on Rondo yet. I don't imagine we have. I'm sure there's a long way to go, especially when you consider the recall beacons.
Yeah, I think that we have seen quite a bit of it so far, and at least in my assessment, it's a case of for Rondo, you have to just go with the flow sometimes. You're going to get more eliminations just based off the recall system anyway. But I have been preferring teams that, at least when the circle comes to them, they prioritize getting a central position. They try and clear out teams around them while still having a backup recall that's close towards the center, so they don't give up center after that. So it is a map that sort of forces you to play between edge and center, depending on how close you are to recall beacons, how close you are to the center of the circle when it pops. It's all quite interesting. But I also find that you are going to get those games where you are just lucky. You are just lucky. The stars align. You get tons of points off the back of it. And it's not something you can replicate. Where I think that on a Erangel, you get 3 of them a day. I think it's highly likely that you replicate a 17-point or a 15-point game frequently if you are good enough.
Well, yeah, that is the big caveat, though, if you are good enough. And I think that teams will start to read into that. And obviously, I mean, at this level, certainly, everybody's going away and crunching every single game after these matches happen and trying to develop, trying to be ahead of the curve. And we'll just have to wait and see how it all changes. A big migration now on a northeast shift. Blank, we're going up to the northeast side. Rekdom Kaya trying to move back into the west edge of Yaz Fields, but Besiktas are already there. Ulf might crash into them, though. On that middle side, you've got Ida as well, just north of this. That west side migration is looking tricky, but around Potato Hill, there's also close conflict.
A lot of damage going through. Lewis will get himself first drop. But yeah, I think over towards Yaz, it is a little bit stressful here that you got Yaz Fields in play. Now, I am slightly disappointed in Regnum Kaya because this is the first time we don't see them take West Yaz compound. Very frustrating for me to see that happen after there's been so much stock over the past multiple games where they look over towards the north side of Roswell Bridge, they pick up West Yaz compound and play from there. I mean, they still get an okay spot down towards that south side, and I think they can be fairly pleased with this position. This is where Silas won out PMGC all that time ago when they're back on S2G.
Yeah, it's
a historical place for Turkey.
Yeah, I mean, if seeing that repeated would be brilliant. Maybe for S2G, maybe for Silas. We'll have to wait. You know, Frank and Kaya would be glad of it, but
one of the most successful players in the world, honestly. And I don't think I count Powerboy in that.
I think the most successful player in the world, no?
Yeah, well, not on a technical basis, because Powerboy and Order are probably the most successful players in the world when it comes to PUBG Mobile esports.
You think?
Yes, absolutely. They won twice in a row, PMGC, right? Hard to beat that. No one's beaten that. But I think on a more vibes level, you'd be right. You'd absolutely be right to say that Silas is probably the most successful player in the world.
I think that the early back-to-back has a bit of an asterisk next to it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Absolutely. On a technicality, they are the most successful.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay.
But,
okay. Yeah.
But if we take out the technical side of it, then yeah, they're not, because it's when the game was first forming. It's when we didn't have all the powerhouses in. We hadn't fully explored all the talent in the world in terms of players. But I think Silas now just needs to get one more PMGC, and then my man can retire.
I feel like the other player that I would bring in the conversation is King in terms of most successful player in the world. He has a pretty incredible track record, certainly in the PEL, right? So I think that if you're talking about who can face Silas as the most successful PUBG Mobile player or elite player, I think King has to be in that conversation. I think that's the only person I would accept someone having the opinion of that Silas isn't the best, is putting King in that pedestal.
Yeah. Again, it's I think PC Pro Elite League is very, very different beast altogether as well. Like a lot of times they're playing a very different game to us. Ulf though going crazy once again. EMB takes 2 knocks, but no flushes just yet. And Ulf would tally to 100 here if they're able to clean this out. And Scarface looks like he wants to get it done. A 1v4 might be a bit bold. Luckily, he has backup.
He's got the boys. They're rolling in a nice little assault onto it. There's no defense here, and catches them slacking. Mazzaro does find the retribution, maybe looking for a flush here. They lose Catch, but it will not matter. 102 points now on the tally for Ulf. They are over into the triple digits, and that has got to feel real terrifying. Everybody in the lobby will see that elimination feed lighting up and go, I think they might have just done it. We're beans. Second and third place race it is, boys. Let's see. And big news as well for the Noisy Boys on their chase towards the Boars PMGC points total. They go down with 2 points again, so only 3 points today.
Yeah, it's bad. It's very, very bad. I'm kind of interested. I'm kind of interested by Ulf right now and how they played that out, because I think they thought they were still playing on Rondo, sending all the players in. So you don't care in the world, but you pass by. They're almost 40 points ahead is ridiculous from second place. Day 2, match 2. We haven't even concluded match 2 yet. I think that's what's even wilder. Yeah, I think for Ulf, they're chilling now, but it looks like they're not taking the foot off the gas just yet. They claim a nice little bit of space over towards the southwest side. But this is definitely an uncomfortable circle. A lot of areas to manage, maintain. Asgard have I think probably one of my more favored spots in the circle, which is on the south side of Yaz, out looking towards the field. It gives you plenty of time to work with. Slight struggle when you have to leave, but I think it's a very cozy spot up until that point.
Everybody trying to find their slice. Oh, a bit of an east shift, I think. That's a real hard east shift over towards... Oh, my goodness. They look at Papra Supermassive in Heaven Compound right there. They're playing the 2-2 split. This could get dangerous. I'm thinking Regnum Kaya are crashing right now. They're already in the vehicles. They're heading that way. I feel like this might be a North Point Papra Supermassive being cut in two.
Well, that depends if Papra Supermassive are able to hold on. What is this? And why has it happened? And they are blocking them all in. This is like a shepherd with the sheep. And Falcons are not getting out of this.
Oh no.
I think he might have actually cut their entire path in half with that, with the hovercraft. And so they couldn't move anymore. That is disgusting.
Oh, the Falcons are going to hate it. With one simple trick, Falcons hate him. Goodness me. S2G actually beat Regnum Kaya to the punch to getting up to the foothills of the Papra Supermassive compound. But it's not going to matter. Papra Supermassive going into half either way. I don't imagine that the North Point, the South Point rather, the higher end of this compound is going to be holdable. But Icy up the staircase, careens on in for S2G. But as a solo, I don't think he's going to be able to hold this against Regnum Kaya when they decide to get stuck into this.
That is pretty clean, though. Pretty damn clean.
I mean, they lose 3.
Icy. Yeah. I wasn't talking about that. That was messy. But for Icy, very clean.
Will
Molotov out Spike from Anathosis. I think Regnum Kaya's push gets cut short. So funny when you get to higher levels of PUBG Mobile. Sometimes these kind of rotates become extremely messy. They become messier rather than cleaner because everyone knows exactly where the winning position is. So they're all just making a dart for it. So very, very interesting stuff. But this is a cool ending. It's very open, very tough to play. Vehicles are very necessary. I think hovercrafts here actually hold a lot of weight in terms of value, just because setting up actual compounds via vehicles is going to be a big deal later on.
I have a sneaking suspicion. And it's more of like a gut rumbly kind of suspicion that whoever is in heaven isn't going to win this match. I feel like whilst, technically, I mean, sort of far and away the strongest spot, I feel like whoever controls the south open slopes might have a better opportunity here. I'm looking right now to see if Kara can beat that team, because they are doing pretty well on that south edge in terms of control. If they can get rid of IWNRX, but by all accounts seems to be going quite well, as Aaron spins out for Ulf on the cross. Last player alive for him. Backs it into Park. Seems like. Not on a double yellow. Good to Park there, mate.
So the thing is with Heaven, right, is that it is the winning position. And I think you'd also be right to say that, it's slightly different. It's a case of whoever remains in Heaven is likely going to win the match. It's hard to hold on to it. I think that even if you're talking about Kara right now, if this moves north, they will end up in Heaven at some point.
I think you're right. I mean, it's the sensible pick is whoever controls Heaven should win the game. Right now, though, it's kind of no one, because you've got Icy.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
I'm not disagreeing with you. I think I'm just trying to extrapolate on the point of you're right in the sense that this is not an amazing spot right now for Papra Supermassive because they're getting assaulted massively. Now, though, as it moves over towards the western side, absolutely terrible.
Ooh. Okay. All right. So Besiktas in a pretty good spot, but the teams at their back are going to make their life really, really hard. It's a question of who wins on that western edge. IWNRX, again, it's pretty dire for them. I feel like they've lost hope here. It's just been nothing after nothing. A string of nothings on their scorecard, and you can't let that go. Fenerbahce going to look to depart from that western side. Actually, Besiktas, have they crossed the road? No, I think they haven't. I think that's just a mini-map offset that isn't quite right there. They are still on the western side of that road, playing the bank. As Papra Supermassive lose their final player, looks like that assault will continue, but they have to leave from the high ground.
There's a lot of players heading over right now. Xlay finally decided they want to actually take a fight for once. Move over towards the remnants of the players in heaven. Sending nades in to no avail versus Ida right now, John.
They do have the surround, though, and I think if you can corral these teams in, you're going to force them to have to move, right? This is stage 5 blue. It's going to do more than tickle. And they will have to make that dash. Besiktas taking shots out to the western side to stop anyone from moving in, and they do need to maintain their ground here. Again, they are still on the west side of that road. Don't be deceived. The Falconist gets spotted, and Asgard may have got an opening there. Meanwhile, still trying to leave heaven. A little crash down for Xlay there. I think he might have been trying to go over and onto the roof, but goes a little bit long. Icy still.
What are we doing?
You can't challenge him on that staircase. Nobody's learning the lesson, and he's got a little bit more to go. 7 rounds. He's only going to need the 2 to be able to put that one down. Picks up 3 more. Is he going to find some ammunition in the box? Just managed to get it on board. Has 2 more upstairs as well to refresh on.
Ida have to push out. I think they realized that their time was coming to an end. But Xlay, what are we playing at? As Icy gets up to 5 eliminations, one of the highest score counts in the lobby, barring Kara with 8. Like you say, controlling down towards those south slopes. Reckon Kara's been fairly quiet. And Icy, I think, gets a little bit too big for his boots there, John.
I mean, they got 5 elims, and a lot of them were from Icy, so a little bit of an ego check there may be necessary to stop him getting too big-headed. Hopefully S2G can keep things going, because they also are potentially in contest for a point spot qualification. Both do go down. Regnum Kaya, though, in the lead as it stands on the Turkey regional points. But if they're in 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, then that's going to get bumped down to S2G again, potentially. I'm taking a little bit too much about point 6. I should be focusing on this roll-up as Regnum Kaya tests straight through the middle of Asgard. And it is going to be Ragnarok sent their way. Goodness me, Regnum Kaya trundling on over.
Yeah, I mean, for Regnum Kaya, smoke's down. They did lose Wild, which doesn't bode well for him, considering Wild being alive is like a lucky blessing to your survival time. Loxy's going to wrap back, though. Predicting that teams are going to wrap that way. Early warning system available for the team. Yeah, I think Regnum Kaya, Besiktas, Ida, main teams that count. Kara, with the support of the entire crowd right now.
I feel like Kara potentially in one of the strongest spots here. If they can get rid of Ida on that northeast flank, right? That descent from heaven is still out in the blue zone. Kara have a little bit of terrain to play around, these long open slopes. Depending on what sort of vehicle cover they can find, could go well for them. The rooftops for Jetgo, not quite connecting on Merciless, and they haven't really got anything done so far this match. But on the north side, they're a major threat to Besiktas.
Emre from Ida. Throwing a bit of a scout. I think a lot of teams really struggling to figure out where to play right now. There's not a lot of space that is exactly wonderful to drop into. Dead Wolf corners. It's getting as much information as possible. It's just small dips, defilés to work with right now, rocks, a bit of hard cover. Yeah, not easy.
I think Regnum Kaya know that they can't really make progress on the west side of the road here, so making inroads to the east edge, probably a better bet for them. And Loxy launching nades in, going to soften Ida up. And Kara going to the other side of that compression. Then Ida going to squirt out the side there. Unfortunately, get picked up there. Mopped up with a spray down from CEO, from Regnum Kaya as well. But Loxy gets a little bit too bold. Jetgo do get traded on towards, so that should temper their aggression somewhat. But now it's all up to Emre. The Muscles himself, see what he can do.
Lewis looking to cut Regnum Kaya. Loxy does go down, as does Ida here. Kara still getting a lot done, but it's mostly Marso with 6 limbs on side. A really succinct little roll up over towards Falcon. Simple Domak is under fire by everyone. and is literally set ablaze upon a bonfire.
Not the ideal place to be. That's the Guy Fawkes treatment. It's a bad time.
It really is.
Besiktas, they've been hunkering down here for a while. They did lose Zeptimus, but they are still slap bang in the middle. Next circle will reveal itself in 4 seconds, 1 second. It's actually going to be right now. As we go up north, Regnum Kaya get a bit of luck there on a hard northeast shift.
They needed it. I mean, they've been struggling for a while now, but still at 3 players technically. I think teams know that they are struggling. They look like the weakened team, but that will give them a lot of time to work with. But like I said, it's really barren land. Zed Wolf does have a medkit to work with, but you can see there, it's practically all he's got. Luckily does have a big reset on both the helmets as well as the vests from the loot crate, which will provide some cover to the team.
Just a touch. Just a touch of cover. And that sometimes can be the difference maker. It can be a big difference maker. All of these teams looking to put pedal to metal. The fact that both Regnum Kaya and Besiktas are alive here, Blank, is kind of bad news for the rest of the lobby, right? There's a 13-point drop between Besiktas in 3rd place and Papra Supermassive in 4th. That's only going to extend with placements. Kara looking to try and chase that down, and finding a chicken dinner here would be a great way to do that. But the more that boundary separates, the more likely it is that they're not going to be able to catch up. Bra wants to put points on the board as well, and he's going to light up for 2 on the spray down. And they are going to find a little bit of an answer, and in come the rest of Bra for the backup. Regnum Kaya want to find the side angle shots, the third-party situation. Storm hops out with a vehicle now at his back, plays on the hay bale, will survive for a little bit longer, but Quantum not so lucky. And now it's a one-man Storm trying to make something happen, but he's under a hail of bullets, and I don't think he's going to last too much longer. It's Poser to put him down.
I mean, everyone else in the lobby just wants to pick up as many eliminations as possible. BRA sort of took the wrong time to be going for that one. Besiktas have lived for quite some time here. Kara now investing the nades in, slightly too much leaning to the right-hand side. A little bit of information, though, and now they know it's on target. It's going to be a barrage of utility, and Besiktas should be going down here off the back of that. Rookie sends wide. They have to scatter.
I mean, this long open play has worked well for Kara. They've had so much control from the south flank. Nades over the top now to Besiktas. And I love this flex out over to the west side of the road from Marceau. He's got to get pushed in, but he's done so much work against Besiktas because of this angle. Covered off from Regnum Kaya, drops another smoke. He knows where his bread is buttered on that one. Having a good time of it. And he looks for Jetgo in the distance. He can fade away from this one as well. Has the tree to cover the crossing.
I mean, for Regnum Kaya, this will be a real test for them. This is the 4-man squad of Kara. And this is where we'll know whether Regnum Kaya still has it in them to get towards those grand finals. I think this is not an easy game, but there's certainly a possibility. They have to remove Kara from the equation, though. That's their only option. Besiktas down and time is running out as now Jetgo's the only other distraction between them and Regnum Kaya.
Oh, Marceau again with the pace on that road crossing. Beautiful stuff. Bringing control back over towards Regnum Kaya's side. If they didn't send that flank out, Regnum Kaya move up to the roadside for free. But now they've got control over the high ground. They've got that open roadside undercover. And the nades from Regnum Kaya, they're going to be a little bit tempered.
Nice.
Marceau even getting shots up range. He does fall back with the rest of the team, though, and I feel like that might have been a misplay here. Gives Regnum Kaya an opening.
I mean, the fact that Loxy hits that headshot over towards Lewis as they come through is crazy. They really do not have much utility to work with, and that might be their undoing in this game. Sticky bomb sent out. It has to be a real long throw on that bad boy. Now just 2 teams remain. Jetgo did exit stage left. These will have to be some very quick shots coming through from Regnum Kaya. There is still smokes coming through as they come out. Jose is already down, finding one off the rip. Like you say, CEO over towards Zedwolf. He goes down, 2v2 now.
2 across the road. from one another. Zedwolf potentially resable here, but it's a long time commitment, and the zone is coming. I don't think you can commit here. It's up to Silas and Loxy. Silas leading from the front with 5 Elims for the team, but Marceau on a tear with 9, down on his belly, on the belt buckle, looking to try and stand up against Silas, and Loxy will not find it there. Poser flushed away. Loxy making sure that those points are added to their tally. It's 13 Elims for Regnum Kaya and 14 for Kara. Loxy steps up, can't connect on the spray, and it is Kara to be able to win the first trade. They find Silas down in the dirt, but he's good for 1. He's taken on Marceau, and Silas brings it back into a 1 versus 1. Goes for the spray, but Lewis is able to take him down, right down to the wire. It was nail-biting stuff, but Kara pleased the crowd and are able to take down Regnum Kaya.
I mean, for Loxy, that is a little bit of a misplay there. Silas isn't available to help him with that one. And I think they almost ruined their own chances because they caused problems in the Kara camp. As soon as they take out, I believe it was CEO who was knocked over towards Zedwolf's side. What I think is going through Kara's head there is, oh, they're going for the res. They're looking for the res that we need to speed things up. I don't think Loxy was expecting such an aggressive push coming through from the guys on Kara. But it's a smart decision to go for right there. They knew that I think a lesser team would have got scared and doubled back, giving maybe time to get Zedwolf back up. But Kara realizes we have to go now. It's not ideal, but we just have to take the fight. They send the buggy up, get out early, and that was the tiny bit of cover that sat in between Lewis as well as Silas in that endgame. Very well done. Regnum Kaya still get a big game off the back of that one, except Kara come out swinging.
And they add the second wolf portrait to the table, side by side, looking at one another here. Look at that. Hey, get out of the way. We don't look at that. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're going to be facing off. I feel like that is pretty cool. It's right in the middle. Having a good time with that. Beautiful stuff, and what a crowd pleaser as well to finish it off. Big Elim games from both of these two teams. I liked as well that Regnum Kaya had that discipline to go for those flushes, right? In that scenario, they were able to pick up those points, make sure they were up to 13 Elims in second place. Still a very good game overall for them in terms of their point scoring, and they shouldn't be too displeased with that. I'll be interested to see where that lands Kara, though, in respect to Besiktas, who were in third place.
Yeah, I will be interested to see where it does play. So I think for Kara, it's a nice increase of points total for the team. But for Regnum Kaya, they were catching up. They're definitely catching up. It's consistent game after consistent game here for Regnum Kaya. I think that it's getting to the point now where it's no longer a case of, oh, Regnum Kaya is in the conversation. They are being very loud right now. They're not exactly taking over the entirety of the talks, but they are always there as a voice in the room. And I think Ulf is definitely the leader right now. They're the one doing the TED Talk. But I do think that the Regnum Kaya consistently being in like a top 5 game after game after game after game is impressive stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, Kara played a very impressive game, that game. Particularly, they played that open terrain. Look, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I did bring them up when I was talking about who was going to win, you know, just adding to my prediction record. Check that one off. John did really well. And I do need the praise for that because it's something that I would dearly very much like. And I'll give it to myself. Self-congratulatory as ever. But it was really great stuff from Kara, who I will praise even more than I'm praising myself right now, for being able to navigate that open ground. I think Marceau obviously particularly strong across all of that game. I did feel like Silas might have had that one. But in the end, no. It's going to be Marceau, right? On the MVP, 10 Elims in the end of the match, 1,231 damage. This guy was a major factor into why they were able to win this.
Yeah, I think for Marceau, the immediate switchbacks between side to side was really good. 10 Elims, like, cannot understate how good that is of a game here on Erangel. I think Marceau, without him, it would have been definitely a situation where they would have got overwhelmed because they wouldn't have control on both sides of the road quick enough. And he was instantly back and forth, constantly using his vehicle as cover, constantly putting his vehicle in positions where it wasn't going to get destroyed as well, which is super important for him to maintain maneuverability on the map. So yeah, really cool stuff from Marceau that game.
Absolutely. It's top of the tables on all fronts there, on all the fighting statistics. He is on top. 2 nade elims there, 279 distance. It's a close range game there. Sub 300 as the longest range distance elim. You don't see that too often. And it just goes to show how close everyone had to fight, right? And I think a lot of that is to do with the fact that the Heaven compound was such a heavy focal point.
Yeah, I mean, especially in that location as well, where it's dips into areas where you want to crawl up, have a little bit of cover. Most of the time when you're fighting, you're right up in each other's faces because you're using smokes to deny sight lines. You're doing everything you can to make sure that by the time you start fighting, you're probably in nade range, so you're not taking shots anyway.
Yeah, that does seem to be the case. I mean, you create this sort of weird buffer zone around such a high ground dominant position in the situations where people are getting those 300 to 400 meter elims, right? And it is much more difficult to go for it. Taking a look at the chicken dinner stats here, you can see Lewis being a little bit of a silent partner there to Marsa with 940 damage, but only the 2 elims to be shown for it. Maybe some of those were, some of that damage was sunk away to other teams' elim counts, but in general, still very, very strong. And Marso definitely the star of the show.
Yeah, 100%. Again, it's a very respectable damage count. We're almost reaching 3K on that game, I believe. I think it's very close at least. Look, I think they might have just breached it by like maybe.
I think you're just shy.
Single digits, maybe.
You're right on the boundary. It's somewhere in there. I haven't done the maths. I pulled out my calculator last time for the massive.
Give me the calculations.
Oh no, I'm going to lose it because the graphic's going to go. I'm going to not have it.
No, keep this up.
940. Remember the last 2 numbers. 662 plus
120. 120.
Oh no, it's 2,953. It is so close.
It was close. Very
so
shy.
close to that 3K.
Very shy.
Still, very impressive stuff coming through from Kara. And again, I think their open ground play was impeccable. I think that I have no faults on it.
Yeah, I think just shy of 3K is still damn good on Erangel. Not always easy to hit that marker. Something you more see on maybe like a Sandhawk, which is now dead. RIP. RIP Sandhawk. But I think that if we see more games like we have just seen over in Erangel and Rondo today, this is going to be a very, very exciting day of PUBG Mobile. Extremely exciting. I can't believe just how much has come through right now in terms of point scoring, in terms of critical teams towards the top side of the lobby. Ulf did fairly well that game. I do think they didn't do fairly well. What I mean to say is that they were still looking very confident, but I do want them to not get too big for their boots because that game felt like they saw TMB, they're like, we're just gonna roll them. We're rolling. And they did. They lost a player off it. And I don't think they had to lose catch there. I think they could have really suffocated TMB inside that building and then slowly picked their way through them before having to make a move. Because immediately after that, they were like, oh, we're going to go for a crazy move over towards Heaven.
Yeah, I mean, that seemed to be the next launching point. I think it's I think it's interesting to think about what they were trying to achieve with it, right? Like, are they just trying to get that fight? Like, you can choke out that position, right, on TMB's compound, but is it going to be impeding in their future plans if they take all that time? Well, we'll never know, unfortunately, because they did go for it, and we are going to be heading to the stage. We'll see you guys in a minute.
We did have a lot of questions as we stand with Kager, one of the S2G super fans, and of course one of our WoW map designers. Now, as one of the world famous map designers in WoW, I want to ask you, what inspired you to start designing maps in World of Wonder?
Diyor ki ünlü bir WoW harita tasarımcısı olarak diyor seni buna yönlendiren neydi? WoW haritalarını tasarlamaya nasıl başladın? Seni ne motive etti diye soruyor.
Aslında ben zaten küçükken tasarımlarla çok fazla ilgileniyordum. Sevdiğim bir oyuna da bu özellik eklenmesiyle beraber daha çok motive oldum. Daha çok tasarım yapmaya başladım. Aynı zamanda zaten 2 kere dünyanın en iyi WoW tasarımcısı seçildim.
So, from my understanding of Turkish so far, he's been a designer for a very long time, ever since he was a kid. And when World of Wonder came out as well, he just found the way to kind of fuel that creativity, and he was just constantly diving in, creating maps, one right after the other. Now, when it comes to the way that you express your support for S2G, how do you manage to do that? And when it comes to it, how do you design maps when it comes to S2G and showcasing their capabilities throughout your designs?
Davut diye şöyle soruyor. Tabii bütün dünyanın merak ettiği sorular bunlar. O da sadece Türkiye'de değil, dünyanın her yerinde izlendiğimiz için İngilizce olarak da o merak edenlere çevirisini yapıyor Davut. Şu şekilde sordu. S2G'ye olan desteğini harita tasarımıyla göstermeye nasıl karar verdin? Bu fikir ilk aklına nasıl geldi diye sordu.
Öncelikle S2G çok büyük bir kulüp. Aynı zamanda çok büyük bir taraftar kitlesine sahip. Ve bildiğiniz üzere Türkiye'deki tek dünya şampiyonu S2G Spor.
From my understanding, it's just from his love and from his support for the organization, for the players. That's kind of what's been driving him to constantly create those maps, and again showcasing in the designs of the maps. I want to say glimmers of S2G around the map, which is honestly, it's incredible to see. Now, among all the maps that you've designed,
World champion S2G he said.
oh, of course. They have been the champions before, and I'm curious, can they do it again? We'll find out in this tournament. Now, when it comes to all the maps that you've designed for S2G, which one do you consider to be the most unique, or your favorite maybe, from the ones that you've created so far?
S2G için tasarladığın tüm haritalar arasında sence hangisi takım ruhunu en iyi yansıtan, yani senin için en özel olan hangisiydi diyor.
Bir harita tasarlamıştık. Şu an 400 bine yakın oynaması var hatta. Orada oyuncular oynayarak, oyuncak ördekleri vurarak reflekslerini geliştirebiliyorlardı. Hatta eminim ki sadece S2G taraftarı değil, çoğu taraftar o haritayı oynamıştır. Benim için en özel olan harita muhtemelen odur.
Alkış yok mu?
He said he doesn't do it just for the organization, he does it for the fans. He doesn't see like there's one unique one specifically. He's a fan of a lot of his own creations. Now, when it comes to the maps that you've had the chance to create, have any of the S2G players or the fans had an opportunity to try out the maps that you have created? Yes.
Tasarladığın haritaları, S2G oyunları ya da hani hayranlarını deneme fırsatı nasıl buldu diyor. Yani diyor ki tasarladığın haritaları, S2G oyuncuları ya da hayranları deneme fırsatı buldu mu? Yani bunu soruyor. Bir de en çok aklında kalan yani comeback, geri dönüş şey neydi diyor. Yani en çok aklında kalan geri dönüş neydi diyor.
Buna da aynı cevabı vereceğim. Az önce bahsetmiş olduğum o ördek vurmaca haritası dediğim gibi 400 bin kişi tarafından oynandı. Ve son derece olumlu yorum aldı. Yaklaşık olarak 5 üzerinden 4.6 yıldızı vardı onun.
So a lot of people, from the numbers that I've seen, and I've heard it's around 400,000 plus people had the opportunity to try out the maps, which is kind of crazy, and just goes to show how massive a fan base that S2G has, how massive a fan base that PUBG Mobile has, not just in Turkey, but also around the world. Now, being an S2G fan, what has that taught you? Whether it's creativity, persistence, or something else entirely. What have you learned being a fan of S2G?
Bir S2G hayranı olmak sana sabır, azim, yaratıcılık veya başka konularda ne öğretti? Yani sana ne öğretti?
Ya şimdi şöyle, az önce de söyledim. Türkiye'deki tek dünya şampiyonu S2G. Benim de bu takıma layık bir WoW tasarımcısı olmam gerekiyordu. Bu sebepten dolayı tabii ki S2G'yi seçecektim. Başka seçeceğim takım olduğunu düşünmüyorum.
I mean, you're talking about the only organization in Turkey to be crowned a world champion. This is what S2G's legacy has been so far, and being a fan of them has just made me push myself to the limits, and I want to be enough for them. I want to be as good as they have been on the international stage and in previous competitions. And you know what? I like that. And now S2G, they still have an opportunity to come out on top and maybe even make it to PMGC. Now, if S2G wins the championship, what kind of map design would you make to celebrate that moment for the organization? It's not going to be easy, but I want to see what the overall leaderboard looks like. But they still do have a chance.
I understand, Toki.
If I understand true, şöyle bir şey soruyor. Diyor ki eğer S2G bu yıl şampiyon olursa bu zaferi kutlamak için nasıl bir harita tasarlamak isterdin? Right?
Aslında bu sürpriz olacaktı ama bir ipucu verecek olursam bütün oyuncularımız, bütün e-sporcularımızın portrelerini oyun içerisinde tasarlayarak orada kendileri oyuna girdiğinde kendi portrelerini görüp oyun oynayabilecekler.
Wow, I like that. He said it's gonna be a surprise, but I'll give you a hint. I would want to see, using the images of the players all around the map and just showcasing them. And I absolutely love that. Thank you very much, Kaiger, for joining us.
And I want my photo also.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Can you put me in Bilgi hand as well, please? Okay, that'd be perfect.
If you put my photo, I will be very happy, my friend. Okay? Please try this.
Okay. We're gonna have a conversation about that.
Neden olmasın abi? Yeter ki S2 şampiyon olsun.
Arkadaşlar, herkese başarılar diliyorum. Gerçekten S2G dünya şampiyonu olarak bizim ülkemizi çok iyi temsil ettiği için onlarla da gurur duyuyoruz. İnşallah bakalım, ama her zaman söylediğimiz gibi en çok hak edenin kazanacağı 2025 Avrupa Şampiyonası'nın içindeyiz. Hak eden kazansın diyoruz. Hepsiyle gurur duyuyoruz. Dünya şampiyonluğu için emir adımlarla giden takımlarımıza başarılar diliyoruz.
Son bir şey söyleyeceğim abi. Benim buraya gelmemde bu taraftarın payı çok büyük. Onlara buradan çok ama çok teşekkür ediyorum.
If I came here for these fans, he says.
You know what? I love every single one of the fans that we have here in the complex arena. Kaiger, thank you very much for joining us. We're now going to head on over back to the analyst desk and get ourselves started with our third match of the day. See you there.
And welcome back. Thank you very much to the stage, to that interview. We are going to be heading ever forwards towards our terminal destination here at these finals. Of course, with the Smash ruling, that could be any time in day 3. We'll have to wait and see. But it seems like Ulf are still going to be atop the pack. With that last game, though, I feel like Kara may have made their mark on the tables and might be in with a chance of jumping up towards one of those podiums. A couple of the highlights from that last game, and it was some high elim games from both Kara and Regnum Kaya.
It was indeed. I mean, there definitely was some pretty big highlights from this game for one player in particular here, and it is Marceau, who is dominating the highlight clip reel right now after an incredible performance from himself. Lewis as well was doing some great work, a lot of damage from him, but not a huge conversion rate on their side. Icy also single-handedly holding out 2 teams, which is kind of crazy overall. Regnum Kai were doing their best. I think Regnum Kai didn't have the greatest of spots on the map, but they held their own regardless.
Yeah, their scout out back to the east to flex out towards Ida, I think was really strong and obviously showed great leadership from Silas and great execution from the rest of his team. Excellent communication is the key to that one. And I really did feel like Silas might have had it there in the end, but the buggy cover turned out to be too strong to defend from it. Match rankings here, 27 points at the top for Kara. A really needed infusion of points to add to their tally. And Regnum Kaya should be clearing away ahead of Besiktas, who got 6 points, which is respectable, but apparently we're on a big game day today. So there you go.
Yeah. 27 points seems to be the magic Turkish number right now for these teams. A big 27 yesterday for Ulf in match 2. And a big 27 for Kara here in match 2 today as well, which is super interesting to see. But I think for Regnum Kaya, getting 19 points is fairly significant considering our third place team only walked away with just 6 total. So we're starting to see a real small amount of teams pulling away from the crowd now. Whereas the rest of the teams just cannot quite keep up.
I mean, it's with these big games, right? That's why this is happening. We saw Ulfwith now having the two biggest games, in fact, tied second place biggest game, right? Overall, with 27 points on that match 2 yesterday, and obviously 32 points at the start of today. They have passed that 100-point barrier. Regnum Kaya up in 84 points. Look at that drop-off still. And Besiktas just about holding on to third place because Kara are knocking on the door of grabbing one of those gauntlet spots.
Yeah, hot on the heels here. And I think for Ulf as well, being on 102 down to 84 for Regnum Kaya, last game, it was only a 40-point difference. I was going to say only for a second. What am I talking about? But yeah, it was a gigantic 40-point difference between those squads. And it felt insurmountable. But Regnum Kaya, I think this is the worrying thing for Ulf, is that Ulf is able to get these big games, big window games, where you can see they have 74 elims. They absolutely go crazy on some of these matches. But the difference is that Regnum Kaya, it feels like they're not really running out of breath here. They are constantly catching up in the distance. No matter what kind of big sprints Ulf's making, Regnum Kaya is just got a steady jog on at the moment. Kara taking up the rear right now with 60 points. They are getting closer and closer to the target. Besiktas gets so. Again, it is just like some decent games here and there, but I don't think there's been any kind of like amazing moments.
Yeah, it's something that does need to be there, apparently, if you want to be in those top three. Down towards the bottom of these tables, 24 points for IW Next Ruya. They're playing badly, Blank. That is what we have, what we've divined over the course of these games. And maybe I'll bring it up once a match. We'll see. S2G on 41 points here, trying to break into the top of the tables. And again, they are still in contention for qualification, not necessarily through the gauntlet, to the gauntlet spots at the top, but through the Turkey region points, right? Because they are contesting directly with Ulf and Regnum Kaya. Sure, they're quite far behind both of those two teams, but given the fact that Ulf and Regnum Kaya are not unlikely to be getting gauntlet spots directly, S2G are now competing with Ida, with Kara, with Papra Supermassive, and these are the four teams that are really looking to try and contest on those Turkey points. So S2G fans out there, all is not lost. They still have a chance. It's the question of, can they out-earn Ida? And well, after that game, they might struggle to out-earn Kara, because you can see the top four gunslingers. Well, this table has been adapted to the performance on Rondo.
Yeah, I mean, for 3 players coming through from Ulf, all in the top 4 gunslingers, and Loxy only just really making it in there. 74 damage to 77 from Scarface. But yeah, it is incredible to see 3 players from Ulf all on the top 4 gunslingers of this page. More so, Aaron, with 4.8k damage. That's going to be hard to keep up with. I don't know, maybe like 3.25k damage, which is very, very close. But Loxy just about is able to grab that 4th place spot. Keeping Regnum Kaya in the running.
Absolutely. They're still, being repped. And it kind of goes to what you were talking about before, right? That sort of, that steady, interminable pace that they are seemingly able to keep up as we spot our S2G fans. They're not that hard to spot. They're all in bright purple and white shirts and big flags. Kara, sure, they've got a darker shirt color to them, but they are making themselves known, and their fan base happy with that last match.
Yeah. Again, I think for S2G, there's just not enough happening right now. And that's the issue for them, is that there is some moments where you look at them and like, that was a good play. That was a good move. But there is not enough. It's the key word is there is some moments. And I think that for S2G, it's not consistent enough to keep going forward. When you look at, for instance, Regnum Kaya, where you just cannot keep this team down, that's what's going to really assist that squad when you move through to, for instance, PMGC Gauntlet, a team that is just indomitable in terms of point scoring. They are not falling behind, because every single game, top 5, top 6, top 3, top 2, chicken dinner, it's happening eventually. going to come through. I also do really like the one thing I'm seeing a lot now recently, John, which is that the boys on that team are starting to invest a little bit more into Zed Wolf's signature playstyle, which is taking those really long off angles and going for some insane shots. I don't think that was the case before, and I think that whoever made that decision on the team coming into today is a very smart cookie, because I think if you're going to get Zed Wolf on the team, you have to take advantage of his strengths. You can't slot him in, expect him to play like Sarah did. You can't expect him to play like Toshbik did. You have to let him play to his own strengths, which that absolutely is. So does the rest of the team have to mold around that a little bit? Sure, but you are getting a big positive out the back of it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree that Zed Wolf has seemingly, they found that little something that they needed, and it seemed to be, just allow him to do what he enjoys doing. And what's interesting is he's not necessarily being this sort of bright burning front runner on the team because he's doing that. He's giving opportunity to the rest of his team rather than being the one that needs to get all of those points as well as breaking those opportunities open, which is the power that he's found in response to what Regnum Kaya are utilizing him for. He's able to utilize them to really have an impact on the rest of the team's performance. And I think that is the exact synergy that we've been talking about for Zed Wolf, missing and wanting for a while now. Can he keep going, though? Can Regnum Kaya make their way up to the highest heights to match, go blow for blow with Ulf? Well, they'll have an opportunity to do so here as we are reaching our halfway point match blank. It is match 3 on the day, match 9 on the set, and we'll see where the chips fall. A hard Southern Plain path.
You're right, John. This is where we break the halfway point for all these teams. Tough playing path, honestly, very, very tough playing path down towards the south side. Makes getting it towards Severny really difficult, but more importantly, makes a lot of these vehicle pickups very, very tough. It's likely we'll see Anathosis as well as TMB clash in terms of trying to get vehicles early on. There'll be teams fighting over farm, but for Regnum Kaya, there is a scary portion for Ulf here where they match them in points performance if Ulf cannot have another good game, because again, it does come straight back to yesterday where Ulf has like these breakout performances, but they don't have them all the time. Their points come in big checks. In between those big checks, very little is going into the points bank account.
Yeah, it's going to need to be topped up. Hopefully they got some savings. Pop that one through. Ooh, we saw a very similar circle to this before Blank, and this was the Noisy Boys win, right? On a circle like this where they played up towards Observatory. It's generally fairly unlikely, again, that it will head to Military. That time it did, and it really favored the Noisy Boys, who played a blinder, all things considered, and actually earned a lot of their points on that match. So we'll see if they can try and repeat that. I don't imagine we're going to get 2 Military games off this circle, but you know what? I spoke too soon last time, so I'm not going to make that prediction fully. I'm stepping back from it. I'm not committing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not unlikely that we get a Sosnovka finish on this one. It doesn't encompass the entirety of it, but it absolutely could move down that way. It is just the stage 2 decision, right? If we get a southern shift on the circle, I think at that point, it is statistically likely that it's going to be a Sosnovka finish. So we're really just waiting for the stage 2 circle to come through. And I think that most teams would actually prefer to see a Sosnovka finish on this one. It is going to be a bit of a crunch playing over towards farm, over towards Milta. Teams starting to play around shelter is always a little bit uncomfortable.
Certainly can be. If you get into a sticky spot. I mean, so far, we saw Anathosis Famagusta at the start of last game clashing with the Noisy Boys. This time around, I think there's less impetus to get on the road fast, which is why we're not seeing that clash early on the Military Island. Teams seem to have settled now. Regnum Kaya actually getting into the east portion of Roshok fairly late. They are now at 3 minutes or so and just about starting to get their looting phase on. I think the same story is going to be true for a few of our teams here, though. but they may be the last to be in position as it stands. Papra Supermassive may be also a bit slow there, but they're closer to the center.
I think we are just waiting for stage 2 of this. That's our only thing we can do here, really, whilst we wait for teams to get looted up. And I think most teams really, at this point in the finals, they studied the rotations from yesterday. Like you said, we've had a very similar circle in the past, so teams know roughly where other teams are going to be. So I think we're going to have a little bit of a quiet early game here. Very clear front runners right now in Kara, Besiktas, Regnum Kaya, as well as Regnum Kaya and Kara. I'm surprised we didn't get confused on the last game while saying that, but I'm going to try and ignore that and pretend I never said that.
I think it's because I'm so used to Regnum Kaya as a thing. You know, they've been around for so long as an organization.
Yeah.
It didn't even cross my mind. But now you've polluted our minds with a potential
I know,
misstep.
right? Through cause problems.
You really have.
I guess I'd also potentially throw Papra Supermassive into the mix there.
Okay.
And it is, we really are just looking at the top 6 right now. And if we were...
Of PMGC. But yeah, it certainly would still be a bit of a disappointment.
Yeah, I meant more in the sense of going through to the gauntlet, because then you have like your big potential to just immediately shift through to the finals off the back of that. But yeah, I think off points scoring alone, they are very, very safe in that sense. But that being said, I think that they would much prefer to look to get a top 5 in this tournament, if not just for confidence sake.
Yeah. I think that's definitely something that will weigh on their mind, right? That they'll be thinking about in terms of moving forwards. They do have a lot of global experience, and of course the global lobby is a different game, right? Like you play you have to play very differently when you bring in all the flavors from around the world of different IGLing styles, different rotational paths that are sort of more meta in various different regions. And as well, when you bring in teams from the PEL as well, who are a much more insularized gameplay set. It can really change things up. So maybe they'll have a better chance there. But if PMW sees anything to go by, it's still not looking good for the Falcons.
I will say this though, and it's completely unbiased, by the way, like actually unbiased. Looking at all the other PMSL fall splits, I think PMSL EU actually has one of the most difficult rosters to play against. We have, I think, barring maybe 4 teams here in the finals, I think a lot of these teams could play at an international level and do fairly decently. And I wouldn't put that past any of these squads. I think it is really, really tough for a lot of teams. And again, we bash on S2G, but they are playing against ridiculously difficult teams. I mean, Regnum Kaya that is a super squad in of itself. Ulf right now, another super squad. Papra Supermassive coming out from nowhere. Ida all have really good players on board. I think Ida's a very interesting one where, you know, they lost Aaron Shaw. You pick up Matt Cap, who honestly was putting Fireflux on his back last season. But you also have Darkin on that team. And I think Darkin is a very underrated player who was outshone by Aaron a lot of times, despite doing really, really well in a lot of the games.
Yeah, seemingly this mid-season shuffle has had quite a big impact across the board on a lot of our rosters. Some better than others, it has to be said, but for now, there have been some real standout pickups, and obviously Eren, like you highlighted there, one of the most impactful onto the Fireflux roster. S2G losing a lot of power, though. That's got to feel like a little bit of a sting. Emre spray down out into the open. A lot of road combat going on right now. Ooh, Darkin spotted. Yekta able to clock in from X-Lane, breaking out into blue to try and get that off angle with Emre. Darkin very exposed. Yeah, they're just ascending. They're confirming the point here. No reason not to. Too far off in the distance for the rest of Ida. And not to lose the player because of it.
And we move up. So Norris does not finish up towards farm side and shelter. I think it moving over towards the west here does help out a lot of teams that don't want to play around shelter, play around prison split, which is rough. But there is only a few really nice compounds. Sadly, it's not west enough that you have some of those prominent positions like east side of Pachinki. The compound just the west side of Falcons there is very nice, but how likely is it going to be? How likely is it going to be in the next circle? I don't think very high.
It's going to be really